Yeah.
I mean, you're a guy, but do you think it's weird as a girl to get like the same nail style every single time you go to the nail salon? Cause I really like this style. You know, it's cute, but like, is it weird to get the same thing every time?
Nah, for me, I like uniformity
Yeah, right.
with everything I do. So like,
If I like the style and I want to redo it, that's fine. I feel like.
I like all black, so I'm always gonna wear all black. Like black right now, literally. The
And that's
watch,
how I feel. I like French nails and I like black, so I always want black French.
the watch face is black, black strap, black tank top, black sweatpants, black underwear, black socks,
Yeah,
black man.
yeah.
Yes. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Alex G. I'm alongside Mal, and this is the A Couple of Things podcast.
I thought you said we weren't doing the intro no more.
But I've done the intro the like last two times that I said after I said that.
Hey, I have.
You know what we're here to do. So, in cultural news, let's get into your man's. The boy Kanye Tiller has been.
Yay.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
my
how
bad,
he
my
said
bad.
it?
No,
He
you're
said
right, you're right. It's gonna be a tough thing to like
It is.
to transition, but at least, you know, because that's a terrible call, by the way. We're watching the Yankees game, but
It's because like I want to respect his decision.
no, I'm respecting his decision
But
for
it's
sure.
so hard because it's like you said, that's what we've known him for our whole lives.
Yeah, it's just programmed. Because the difference is when people were doing that to Muhammad Ali, they were doing it specifically on purpose to make him mad, right?
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So I'm just gonna have to like unlearn that. Because the one thing is like, you know, people pick their pronouns and stuff like that. I'm gonna be careful.
He, she, they, them.
I'm gonna be careful with this. I have my own opinions on that, but when it comes to somebody's actual name, if they change their name, then I'm gonna respect their name. Like I don't call Caitlyn Bruce.
Yeah.
Like
Caitlyn Jenner. And
Right.
I've gotten used to saying Caitlyn Jenner. now,
yeah.
Too.
So for me, I'm gonna respect his name. If people want to intentionally disrespect somebody, like you know,
I'm going to try. If I say Kanye, it's not on purpose.
yeah. So Ye has been in the news recently for a lot of things, a lot of takes.
But like, what has it been like a week and a half now, 2 weeks? Like since when was Paris Fashion Week? That's when everything kind of started.
It's been a while. We've been kind of delayed on reporting
Yeah.
some of these things, but
Paris Fashion Week though is kind of where everything really, because you know he walked for Balenciaga. He opened.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was clowning him. They were just judging Balenciaga. 'Cause a lot of people, you know, I think did we talk about that?
we did.
Yeah, we talked about the Balenciaga thing and how people were just clowning it. So they weren't clowning him. Like he was still on people's good side at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next day, his show is when everything went downhill.
Yep. He had several models as well as himself wearing a White Lives Matter shirt. Had White Lives Matter applied to the back of it. Obviously caused outrage, which was of course the intent from him, and the purpose for that was raising awareness for how this has always been the case too, right? So people, anybody listening, you're gonna get my actual unfiltered opinion, which I rarely give up here on the podcast because, you know, this is when you put things on the internet, it's forever. So I do care about what I say. This episode, not so much. So Black Lives Matter was a scam, always was a scam. You were never gonna see me put BLM in my Instagram, in my Twitter. You weren't gonna see me with a T-shirt, all that stuff.
And people were posting links too, like donate.
Not
Like,
because
this one girl who went to my high school, like she literally was like talking like on her Twitter, like being rude about like you guys aren't donating. I'm like, donating to
right,
what?
exactly. So for me, I always thought it was a scam. Obviously, the sentiment itself makes sense. Black Lives Matter.
The statement, yeah.
The statement makes sense. But in terms of
and the original, you know, the original point and the purpose behind the movement made sense.
right, and that's why, you know, I wasn't against it. But the organization itself and people asking for donations and all that kind of stuff is immediately a scam, right? Because what are you donating to? Like, are you sending money to the cops to be like, please don't kill us?
Yeah, like
So-
the whole point of the movement. The whole point of the movement is saying that our lives matter also. Like
Right.
we're emphasizing the fact that a lot of us are, you know, it seems like we're disproportionately killed by police, and we're making an emphasis that like, do our lives not matter? Like everybody's lives matter, of course, but they're just making an emphasis on our lives because it seems like they don't matter.
Right.
So what does money? How's
to
money
do
going to solve
anything.
any of that?
I never understood that personally.
And everybody's like, why aren't you donating? You're on Twitter, but you're not donating. I see you guys on the timeline, but you're not donating. I'm like, donating to what? Like, you have this fake activism. Like, what are you actually doing to stop the killing? Besides trying to demean people on Twitter because they're not donating. To what? And now look what happened. Because none of us, people who could see through it, knew it was stupid. We saw there was like money was going to like Project Blue, which is like a Democratic organization. That was red flag number one for me. And number two, I'm like donating to protect our lives.
Right. Because
How that work?
This isn't a political statement. Saying Black Lives Matter wasn't supposed to be a political statement.
Yeah, it was like a humane statement.
So political parties being involved in it knew it was a scam from the rip, right? It's kind of like low-key common sense, but,
Yeah.
you know, people
Common sense is not common.
there's a lot of emotions into it. So I might give some people some leeway in that regard. But in general, it was stupid, right? Like, people don't ever know where their money's going. So that's why when they're like at CVS, oh, do you want to round up your donation? It's like, no, I don't. Because the reason why is when you say yes, you're giving the money to CVS for them to donate so that they can then write off the money as a tax.
Charitable contribution.
Right, charitable contributions as opposed to yourself donating it and you get the benefit of the charitable contributions.
Yeah. And how do you know for sure that's where your money is going?
You'll never know because they could just, I mean, I'm not saying that they would do this because they're a very large company and if that ever came out, that ever ccame out, that would be crazy. But in general, they get to write off like Amazon. People be like, oh yeah, round up my purchase 50 cents, and Amazon's able to total $100 million. They donate that $100 million. They get $100 million write off from the government.
Yep, they don't gotta pay taxes.
They don't have to pay taxes on things. So just
You guys gotta learn things.
common business sense, right? Black Lives Matter was a scam, and that's what he was attempting to bring to light. Although I think a lot of us kind of like knew that once we saw in the news that people were buying $6 million homes.
And the thing is, like, if someone mentioned this, 'cause, you know, I always gotta bring it back. So being Black American, they said that it feels like the people that only said something were like Black Americans or like, you know, people who were like, you know, FBA. Like, I haven't seen a lot of other people speak out. Like when I first heard about them scamming, like it was like me and a handful of people that spoke out. Like everybody else who was talking about donations, I didn't see them say a peep.
Right. Because people don't want to seem stupid.
Yeah. Same way with, you know, I don't want to talk about the vaccine.
Oh, no.
The vaccine, you know, going pushing hard for it, calling themselves Pfizer princesses, and that shit didn't work. And people were, I'm not clear.
Yeah, they take you off the internet, so we can't even say anything anymore. But
or
anyway.
like what we were just saying, the Forex thing. Yeah, like people don't want to have egg on their face because they like you look stupid.
Right.
So that's why they quiet. But people did call it out, but not everybody did. Like the same way that everybody's mad about him wearing a shirt, that outrage wasn't as heavy as them scamming at all.
Because people. So that was the point of the of wearing a shirt. Now,
one of the points, I think.
One of the points.
Because in his Drink Champs interview, he tried to make it. Yeah, it seemed like it goes deeper, like almost like he was hurt by nobody speaking out against what he was going through. So he was almost saying like, "Well, I'm not gonna be that voice anymore." Then, yeah, that's what he was kind of saying too on the Drink Champs thing.
Now, God, there's so many opinions, and I really don't want this podcast to be like 3 hours of the Kanye breakdown, but that was part of his point, was pointing out that like the BLM, it was all a scam, and it is a political agenda pushed by Democrats, and that's not a hot take, everybody.
It's not.
That's a fact.
It's so obvious that they care about the black vote, both sides. Like he said that too. I think he said that on Tucker Carlson, that he said like, if you could tell like black people like on both sides are just, it's just like a feeling, you know, what would you call it? Like what do you call it when you have like the black vote? It's like you have what's the word?
I don't know.
It's like in political words, like when you have that fulfillment of like, I forgot what it's called, but it's like he said down to Carlson, like, you know, the Democrats see us as that, like, that's the word I'm thinking of. The word I'm thinking of is approval, like the approval rating. Mm-hmm. So it's like he said on Drink Champs, when they threw Kamala in there, it's like they said the black female vote went up like crazy, like the approval rating. Mm-hmm. When Obama ran, obviously the approval rating went up like crazy, you know. Mm-hmm. When Trump, Kanye's claims that when he went to the White House, Trump's approval rating went up for the black vote, which I could believe that. I'm not gonna say I have all his black fans that a huge percentage didn't follow along with him, so they just see us as like pawns. They don't even see us as people. I think they just see us as ratings.
Right.
And the fact that people don't see that so clearly, that the Democrats always hijacked our movements and things like that just to appeal to us, like the way they try to hijack reparations, like they really gonna give us reparations. They ain't gonna give us reparations.
Right. Now, all of that's a fact, and this is not conspiracy or hot take. This is a fact. You can go see where who's been donating to a political party, you can see all the involvement, right? So that's not a hot take. Everybody wants to throw out the word conspiracy theory. It's not. This isn't a conspiracy, and that's not like a hot take. Like Hillary Clinton isn't going on the Breakfast Club for no reason, right? Like,
Yeah.
so that should be pretty obvious, and that's what they think of us, right? Like they want to go to our music outlets because they're like, oh, they listen to rap music, so let me put myself here on a platform where they listen to rap music and then hopefully get their vote, right? Like they want to chase after where we consume entertainment.
Yeah.
So that should let people know as well that when you have rappers that are doing campaigning, right, for political parties like the Democrats, that's why they're going after people that would be prominent in our community, like a Meg Thee Stallion, or like you showed me the other day with Santana and who else was it? Trina. Like they go after these people to push these political agendas, whether it's the I don't know how to censor it.
What? The jab?
Yeah. Or just anything in general. So basically that was the point, is to highlight these sort of things and political agendas that are placed upon our community, and whether people want to believe that or not, that's a fact. Like that's the point of being in politics, is for power.
And it's just so funny to me like how like people swear they're so independent thinkers, and like they're so gullible and get pulled into this stuff every single time. And that's why I'm glad, like I realized that young, like growing up, I just automatically assumed, how old were we when Obama got into office? Did they not catch that?
We were 12?
Damn. Yeah, so that was like 2008. He had a home run. Sorry, I'm distracted. Yeah, that was 2008. So, like we grew up, like, I don't know if you remember, like in school when they used to actually do like who you vote for. And when you said, like, I remember like my first very memory of that was when I lived in New York, and it was Bush, I think, versus
Kerry, probably.
Kerry, yeah, that was like 2004.
Yeah.
And I remember that, like, that's like my first memory of an election.
They had you drawing elephants and donkeys.
And we had to pick, like, and I was like, oh, Kerry, like, Democrat, because like, we, it was kind of like embedded in our mind. And then you have Obama right after that, Democrat. So that's like our prime, like, childhood, teen lives was like being Democratic because of Obama, right? And then it's like that whole mindset that blacks are Democrats and all that. So that's why, like, when I became 18, Obama was still in office when we turned 18. I think, didn't we just turn 18 when we voted for Trump? No, we were like 19, 20. That was like 2016.
Yeah.
We turned 18 in 2014. So when I applied, I said I was Democratic. Like when you say like, what's your political party? I just put Democrat because I felt like I had to. Yeah. But now that I became older and I'm like having my mind on my own, I literally changed that to be, not Republican. Well, I changed that to unaffiliated. I'm like, I'm not affiliated with either. Like, why do I got to pick? Whoever I decide to vote for, I'm going to vote for. If I even want to vote. Like, people say, oh, you should vote. It's your power. Like, no. If I don't want to vote for the person, why do I got to vote, right? Mm-hmm. But
to get back to Kanye, he basically wore the shirts, or created the shirts to spark a conversation. Now, I disagree with the way that he did it, because to me, in my opinion, I think that if Kanye is who he thinks he is or says he is, that he should feel that his voice is powerful enough to make a statement and people are going to move in the way that he says, versus making a t-shirt and trying to generate the outrage. Because a lot of people aren't going to do what we're doing here, have an intelligent conversation. They're going to see a post on the Shade Room or something else, and they're going to determine their whole opinions based off of whatever.
A 30-second clip on the
Of a 30-second clip, which is not even, the Shade Room's not owned by a black person. So whatever clip that people are seeing, that's how they're going to determine their opinions, and not everybody in the country is going to be, have some level of intelligence and either try to understand what he's saying or be able to have any sort of discernment into like actually understanding what the purpose is, right?
Because you have like two types of people. You have people who are just ignorant because that's just who they are. That's how they were raised. They're just dumb. No offense. And then you have people who just want to be mad. Right. Want to be outraged.
Now, my opinion is that he shouldn't, he makes clothes and music and art. He's an artist, right? So in my opinion, the art takes away from the message itself. And that's why I disagree with the way that he did it. Because in my opinion, you leave less to interpretation when you say something versus wearing a t-shirt with a phrase on it. So to me, I think that his voice is powerful enough. If he says certain things, people are going to follow it, whether people want to believe that or not, because everybody said the Yeezy slides were prison shoes, and now you see everyone wearing them, and
People are buying them off
people are
BHK.
buying fakes of them, right? So I think that if he says something or he puts something out, it's just as effective as if he does some sort of outreach marketing. So in my opinion, he went about doing it wrong, but the sentiment in itself, I don't disagree with.
And that's what they said on Drink Champs. They said the guy in the front of the shirt was the Pope.
Right.
Remember you was asking about that?
Mm-hmm.
And like that Pope was like, it was I don't really know the background, but they were saying like he like came out like and was like condemning the church or whatever. Like he was, So it was like, oh, like you see something like that, it's like, so wait, there must be something else like to this,
Yeah, and they're always,
most people don't know who that Pope is because look, I didn't even know.
And there always is. I never thought Kanye was against the black community. I just disagree.
I hate that sentiment that he's anti-black.
I just disagree with the way that he goes about trying to show the world that he's for us, because it gets lost in translation for people that either don't want to understand it.
And that's why you have people like Boosie and Meek Mill, who, no offense, hood rats, who just happen to become famous, speaking out, and now you have all the, their followers like, yeah, Boosie, yeah, he's right. Like Boosie is so illiterate, like sorry, no offense, but like that man don't seem like he's too bright. So I don't think we should be taking.
That's the other thing, right?
His surface level, like, interpretation of the situation.
Right, and now that specifically is where I will make my comments on the celebrity responses to Kanye's. Now, let me say this before I get into any of that. I don't agree. To be specific, I don't agree with the manner, the way he did it, but I do agree with some of the sentiments that he had in his message. When it comes to the celebrity reactions to it, right? When it comes to Boosie and Meek Mill, for example, I don't listen to Boosie's music, so I don't really particularly care for him. But when it comes to Meek Mill, I do listen and enjoy Meek Mill's music. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, you can't make a song about, like, you can't have Boosie saying that he'll give a woman $1,000 for putting her vagina on live, right? And that's not the person that. No, hold on. Let me finish.
No, I'm saying, and have a grown woman touching his underage son.
Right. So
on live.
So that's the person. That's not the person that I'm gonna go read or in my mind where I'm gonna try to connect with them, right? Yeah. Like nothing you say to me has any validity. So you can do all that tweeting shit all you want, right? And have your opinion, but you're not the person that I would look to for like my opinion or try to get any sort of knowledge from. You're not teaching me anything, right? It's because you have this stance on this take, but everything else that you do about your life, whether it be like the content you put in your music, which is fine. I enjoy that music too. I enjoy I'm gonna go spin a block 100 times just like everybody else. But when we talking about like the black community, you're still a detriment to us, whether we like it or not. Mm-hmm. I just happen to like the music. I like the beats. I like the lyrics. Mm-hmm. So I'm not above anybody. I enjoy that stuff.
Yeah.
But Meek Mill can't say I got my shooters out here with 100 rounds spinning on the block and then also at the same time pretend to care about the black community because
just like Block J Boy, whatever. I don't know what his name
Block Boy
is.
JB, right? Like
irrelevant. Like talking about, first of all, he came and speak, so that's why I stopped when he said Kanye he wore the White Lives Matter shirt. I'm like, first of all, like just that first sentence alone will make you realize, is this somebody you want to get an opinion from?
Right.
From something that you need to think deeper about? Like, no. And as people, rappers who make very dangerous music for our community, you want to take their opinion about caring about their people. You don't care about your people. You're promoting drugs and violence.
Right. So to me, again, I enjoy that music. I enjoy the beats and whatever.
Yeah.
But
because we enjoy it and don't take it to heart. It's not like we enjoy it and go perpetuate it. But there's people out there who enjoy it and then go perpetuate it.
Right. So it's dangerous. Like
there's people who make the music who perpetuate it or who perpetuated it in the past,
Right. And I'm not one of those people, which is why I can enjoy it and not care.
Yeah.
Because if everybody just looked at it as entertainment and that's all it was, then it wouldn't really matter what they were rapping about. Mm-hmm. People could be rapping about anything in the world and make money and whatever. But if nobody took it serious, then that's fine. But people listen to that and then go out and do it, and that's the problem. But I'm not one of those people. So when people have a moral compass all of a sudden, I disagree with that. And that's part of the reason why Kanye wore the White Lives Matter shirt is because to prove a point is like you still don't care about black lives. Like don't pretend to care about it just because I wore this shirt. Yeah. But at the same time, you're on the internet degrading and demoralizing your black women in the community. And like they might be in financial hardship, but now you want to offer them money to expose themselves on the internet.
Which is the internet's forever. The internet's forever. Yeah, you could say those women are ignorant and stupid for doing that. Yeah, but you're creating a platform for them to do that.
Right. So
it's so hypocritical. Like I said, that's why like that's a really good point that you're making. Like this, like a part of this was to prove a point. Like look at all these people who now all of a sudden care about Black lives. This, wasn't doing nothing else for it.
Right.
With their power, with their voice, weren't doing not doing anything.
Exactly. So
except making it worse by making music that's literally to our detriment.
Right. So, and what he was trying to get off, and I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, if Kanye released a blank album, I would pretend to hear the music. I'm not a Kanye supporter like that anymore. Seriously. I only care about these musicians and artists because of the music. I like listening to creativity and what they're able to produce. I don't care about any celebrity as a person. I swear to God, I don't.
And that's something I think we got to highlight with this too. Is I feel like too many people are taking things like what Kanye says, like they put him on too much of a pedestal. Like at the end of the day, we're all human, and like people are like all these Kanye fans are like so depressed, like oh my God, why I can't do this no more. Like relax, like
do what?
No one, you don't have to do this. Like you don't have to defend him. No one, it's not a requirement to be a fan of his music. Like you can still love his music and love him without agreeing with everything he says out of his mouth. Like you shouldn't agree with anybody on everything. Then you're just a yes man. You shouldn't agree on anything.
And that's why
everything with somebody.
And that's why I stopped calling myself a fan of people, because I'm not a fanatic about anybody. Like I'm not sitting there fanned out. Like I enjoy.
I think supporter is a better word.
I enjoy the music. I'm not even a supporter. I enjoy the music and I'll consume it, and that's it. I'm not gonna be on Twitter and on Instagram tweeting about it, and you ain't gonna see me really supporting it in that way. Hey, go stream this.
Oh yeah, no, I've never been that type ever.
So I enjoy the music, and that's it. Right. I might do some reactions on my YouTube to get some views, but that's about it. Like,
I don't think I'm a step above you, but I'm not on levels of like a lot of Kanye fan pages actually follow me because I made a tweet about his mental health like a few months ago that went like, it didn't go viral, but got like 10,000 likes. So a lot of his fan pages follow me, and like their fan pages. So their whole timeline today was them, tweeting clips from the show, from the Drinks Champs podcast. It was, them tweeting, song, they know everything. They knew about the SoFi Stadium thing before Kanye even really mentioned it. Like, you can tell they're really fans. And I respect that if that's you, but that's crazy because that's never been me. Like, I've always had a big fan of like Nicki and Kanye, but I never was a fan on that level. Like, new song dropped.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I do sometimes like, down to drop, I'm about to go listen, but I'm not like promoting it. I'm just saying I'm going to go listen.
So that's my opinion on the White Lives Matter shirt. It was stupid to do. Because of, not because of the point. It's because the people. It's because of the audience.
Yeah, people aren't like, that's why like,
nobody has any discernment.
Yeah, and like it's like I get suck to slavery was a choice comment. It's like I get why he says these things. I get the point that he's trying to make, but it's like it's just sucks because it doesn't really work because it's like that a lot of the people who take these things, they take sound bites and they're just very ignorant and dumb and want to be mad and want to find a reason to hate you. So they're just going to take these sound bites and take these like, oh, he wore the White Lives Matter shirt. Oh, he said slavery was a choice. It's like they have like these sound bites. And it's like, dang, like your point gets lost because there's too much ignorance in the mix that is, have a voice. Not a lot of deep thinkers at all in this world, in our community, I feel like, unfortunately. Or at least deep thinkers that have a voice. So that's why it's kind of dangerous because it's like, I wish he would just like I respect him as a human doing what he wants to do to get his point across, and his point is coming across to people like me. But I think people like us who think deep, we already got the point. So it's like if you want your point to come across to like a lot of these like no offense, but like low level thinkers, unfortunately I think he has to do this stuff on very elementary level.
Right.
Like you're talking to a baby.
Right. Now, did you have any other specific points that you want to bring up? Because that was the T-shirt basically.
Sorry, I got like an itch in my throat, so you're gonna have to give me a second.
Yeah. So again, he was wrong for the shirt, but like the sentiment makes sense. It's Black Lives Matter is a scam, right? Like they said they bought a $6 million house for it to be a content house. I ain't seen no content come out of that house. Like it's supposed to be a safe space. Mm-hmm. Safe space for what? Like you're gonna invite people to a $6 million mansion and they're gonna still go back in their communities and get shot down. So it didn't prove anything.
It doesn't take away from the fact that like the whole point is that we're getting killed for being black, not for being from the hood.
Yeah.
Like you ever see that viral video of like that black police officer? I think she was a police officer, but I think she was like a judge. She was somebody highly like important, and like she was like a black woman. You ever see that video? And like the police pulled her over and they said they ran her place, and she was like, "Oh, yeah. Right, you're gonna see." When they was all scared, like you see, if you want to use that as an example, like she was somebody on higher status, and she still wasn't safe.
She was the district attorney. I think she was the DA.
And they didn't know. They was like trying to get her on something, And she was like,
Yeah.
all right. So it's like, you see, like, so why are you making a house for people to be safe? Like they're, you know, like you're trying to make it safe for like people in the hood.
Now,
Meanwhile, people like a DA is still getting pulled over.
where we're about to turn up is that White Lives Matter shirt. Mm-hmm. Okay, it gets a pass. And now we're gonna go basically back and forth.
Wait, but let me see. I have a note here. And this, ignore that. That was for my dad's marathon where he wants to eat dinner. But I wrote, someone explained analogy of selling white lives matter but not caring for white lives. So just to bring up that somebody made a point on, I think, a Kanye space or on Twitter where they said that like, do you think that, like, you know, this is kind of like a good analogy, but do you think also it could have been like him making a point of like, look, like I'm wearing this shirt that's, yeah, it says white lives matter on it, but you know,
Do you actually care?
Do you actually care? And it's like the same way that like white people were wearing Black Lives Matters on them. They didn't actually.
Of course not. That was like
They were just like the same way people posting the black squares, right?
yeah.
And that's why I'm like, dang, how do people not even see it like that? Like the same way people were posting on black squares, you know, they didn't really care about Black lives. It's like they're doing these like you know, when they say like when
Performative.
yeah, performative, or like, you know, when they say like for a lot of times black people, we don't get like actual work, we get like symbols and like statues, symbolic victories. So you have people who posting on black squares and wearing the shirt, stamping it on their chest, putting it in their Instagram bio, but don't really care. And people saying that's what Kanye could have been making a point. Like, look, even though I put this on, I don't mean I actually care.
Yeah. Because again, you know, he put that on, but then all he did after that was rip apart the white community.
Yeah, and like he was gonna sell it for profit. Sorry, that just caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Like he was gonna say it. Sorry, but like, yeah, he was gonna sell it for profit the same way like lots of. No, keep it on.
No, just keep going.
I'm not gonna. This like, see, look what you just did. The same way, like, you know, like white people will sell things for profit in the name of like they care about our lives, but they just really care about the money. So he was selling White Lives Matter shirts like he cared about their lives, but he really was selling it for money. So, you know, I'm like, that's kind of a really good point. Like, I wish he would have just said that. Like, yeah, white people walk around with Black Lives Matter shirts, and what was it? Those Democrats with Nancy Pelosi had like the freaking kente cloth things around their neck. That, oh my God, that's so freaking like crazy. It's like they do all those like symbolic stuff, but don't mean they actually care. And that would have been a good point to make too. It's like, I don't know. Like for me, I just get cringed with his extreme. Like he has very extreme ways of giving, like you know, making a point. I'm like, dang, I just wish he would just explain it on a basic level, you know, for just people just to get it. But
yeah,
but what you about to say?
No, do you have any other topics like?
Well, about the White Lives Matter, that was it.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of, because it sounded like a lot of support on my end, on our end, in terms of this whole debacle. But there's a lot of stuff I don't agree with as well. So it'll be kind of back and forth. So for example, the thing about Kanye where I disagree with is he desperately wants white approval, although there are instances just like this where he might act as if he does not. And one of those things is, you know, he has these extreme views against Democrats. And if you wanted to, without thinking too hard, if you wanted to, I maybe could make the argument that Democrats have been more detrimental to the black community than Republicans, even with their Republican racist views that have been trendy as of late. Because I don't feel like the Republicans have always been like that with the black community. I think the Republicans are more so focused on business and doing everything in their power to make money. And as a recourse of that, their policies and their opinions aren't in our favor because we don't make them money. And like the policies of like welfare and all of those sort of things where, you know, white people are still the biggest consumers of welfare, but you know, the black portion of that, it's not making them any money. So they're only focused basically on making money, and like their policies are focused on that, and they want to raise taxes because that makes more money for the government. Then the government can buy more guns, go to more wars, all that kind of stuff. So that's like been the, I guess, primary thing against our community. In terms of the racist stuff, I feel like that's kind of just happened with Trump, in my opinion, and I could be completely wrong. And not because of Trump, but just that the Make America Great Again kind of culture.
Yeah, he just opened up a can of worms.
Right.
Yeah.
So, where was I going with that?
You was just saying how like you disagree with like where you disagree with him because
where I disagree with him. So he has this anti-democratic view, And unfortunately, instead of taking pieces of Democratic views and pieces of Republican views and not necessarily being in the middle, because you can still shade to either side, he went completely to the other side. Like, he went from one extreme view of every black person vote for a Democrat to I hate Democrats and all lives matter.
Did he say all black people should vote for Democrats?
No, he never said that.
Okay.
But I'm just saying where he positions himself, right?
Yeah,
And,
like he's like an extreme.
right. So now he's gone to the completely other side, but an extreme view. And my point with bringing this up is him going to sit down to do an interview or
Right.
with Tucker Carlson on Fox, right? So it's like you disassociate yourself with one view because of its extremism or whatever you feel like it is, to go to a completely other side, and it's the same thing. It's just a different person,
Yeah.
a different perspective. So I disagree with that, right? Like, you can't be anti white people with the White Lives Matter shirt and then at the same time position yourselves with them, going on their networks, a traditionally anti African American viewed channel or network that somebody can argue. I'm not saying that.
But they have like a lot of you could tell they have a lot of like, what would you call it? Like
Content that's not
like
really
underlying.
aligned. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the person that has really like questionable views on things like the replacement theory and stuff like that. So it's like, in my opinion, Kanye, when it comes to designers, right, like his attack against people like Bernard Arnault, or like even when he was going after people like Hedy Slimane, and he's going to Anna Wintour and all these other people, is like, at one part of it you're anti them, and then at the other part of it you want to be accepted by them, and it gets really confusing because it was, I want to be the head of Louis Vuitton, I want to be the head of Adidas, I want to be the head of all these white creations,
Yeah.
but then it's anti them at the same time, so it just gets confusing, right? Like, so don't, in my opinion, that's wrong. Like, you can't try
have to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just feel like he's just bad with explaining himself. Like, there's, I feel like you could still have, like, I think his issue is he's just extreme with his views. So instead of just saying the things that he doesn't like and does like about certain people and things, he just goes extreme to make points. And I think that's what his issue is. Like you can't be like you said, you're beefing with Bernard Arnault, but then just now we heard him say like he looks up to him. It's like,
right. So it gets confusing, and then people can't
like, you
take
just
you.
Slandered him, like.
And then people can't take you seriously.
Yeah.
But then he further explained it though.
But then he said he is jealous.
He's jealous of them.
And I mean, I could respect any person that can admit they're jealous, because people don't like to admit when they're jealous of people. I could respect that he always says when he's jealous.
Right.
He said he was jealous of Virgil. People would be like, "Oh, he's jealous, he's jealous." But I'm like, he said it. You can't shame somebody who could admit their human feelings.
Right. And I felt like that was always the black people that have been against Jewish people. Like, I know part of it is because they voluntarily monetize off of black people.
Yeah.
Tearing ourselves down, right?
Yeah.
Like, they own the labels and put out the music in which we tear our own selves down.
Yeah.
But that's one of those who do you fault kind of things. Like, do you fault us for making it, or do you fault them for promoting it kind of thing, right? So I do understand that.
And I get the whole being jealous of them, because it's like, dang, they're a group that was also torn down like we were
forever,
but they were able to spin
run
it over.
this whole shit.
And he's like, and we can't for some reason.
Yeah, right. So I
And
understand.
it doesn't make sense why we can't.
I understand the frustration, but for me, it's like,
And it's like, it's just annoying though, because people will now trying to say that he's anti-Semitic when literally it's just him saying like he's, it's like, I get it, like he just has an issue with the stuff that they allow and that they take advantage of, which I feel that's not anti-Semitic to call out people for taking advantage of another group.
Yeah,
just because they're Jewish.
For me, I don't think that it's anti anybody if you call out facts, right?
Yeah.
So we might, like, right, we're in the black community. We might take it away if we find a white person that says, and I know with nuance and context is completely different, because you can always make the argument that they put us here. Mm-hmm. So disregard that from what I'm about to say. But if a white person says anything about the black community, it's always, black person's always going to put their guard up on 100%.
Yeah.
Nothing that they say is going to have any validity.
Just for them saying the word black.
Right. Just for them saying the word black. And it's the same thing, right? You say the word Jewish and everything. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What are you about to say? Like,
right. which I don't agree with, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that a white person shouldn't be able to speak on race just because that,
Because
even
they're
if,
scared of, offending
right,
a group
like
of
that's
people.
stupid.
Yeah.
Like a Spanish person should be able to say, or Latin, I don't know what the word would be, but a Latin person should be able to say, to point out facts, right? Like if you're making stereotypes and pushing biases and things like that, that's dangerous. But if you're speaking to a fact, then that's not, to me, dangerous. If you're highlighting a fact,
anybody could be, if you, let's say like Catholics just happen to be in charge and not Jewish people. It's still the same facts
sentiment.
he's making. It's just replace that with Catholic instead of Jewish. Like, it's not like he's coming at them because they're Jewish. It just happens to be that they're Jewish.
right? And I don't think that there's anything wrong with pointing out a fact. Like if if a white person was like, black people graduate 30%, like that's their graduation rate in high school.
That's not racist.
That's not racist if you're pointing out a fact.
Yeah.
So
and if you want to get deeper and say, okay, yeah, maybe some of it has to do because of the racism history of the country, that two things could be true.
right, which is why I wanted to disregard that
yeah.
in my point, because it's like, they're still stating a fact.
Yeah.
We can always go deeper into the numbers why something is the way it is.
Yeah.
But somebody simply highlighting a fact is not wrong.
Yeah, but people be so quick to be like, well, do you know why? Do you know why? It's like, well, yeah, I know why, but I just stated this.
Right. So to me, him pointing out that part is not wrong. Like it is true.
Yeah, and that's always that's something I've always known. Like I don't know if you could try to make a claim that the reason why I know that maybe because it's in our community already to be that, but like
the Depression Olympics.
Yeah,
it's always been Jewish people versus black people. As
like
if
even
both
with 9/11, we talked about that. Like the guy Silverstein who owned the building and him, being a little shaky. Like how you take a insurance claim a few days before the buildings collapse. I don't know.
And the thing is that they always want to separate Jewish people and black people as if they can't be both, right? Because being Jewish is a religion.
It's a religion. It's not a race.
It's not a race. It's not a race of people.
That's why it's like how could like
a black person can be Muslim just like they can be Catholic, just like they can be Jewish, just like they can be atheist, just like they could be anything. It's a religion. It's not a race of people.
And that's why like the statements come in how like black people were the original Jews.
Jewish
like,
people, yeah.
People say like that's what our religion was before.
Because we was all over there.
Yeah, we was like black people all over this world. Like we was probably every religion.
Yeah. So yeah, I disagree with doing things like the Tucker Carlson interview because you're, just kind of like disassociating yourself with white people, but everything you do is like aligning yourself. Like don't show them 3D printed shoes.
Yeah, and get them the drinks.
And then diss them at the same time, because then it's like, well, whose side are you really on?
And like I could get going on the interviews because you're just desperate and frazzled to get your voice out there. But it's like you see how he like appeases to whoever he's around.
Right.
So like when he's on Tucker Carlson, I feel like his voice changed a little bit, right? Compared to when he was on Drink Champs. Like he's chilling. I mean, I get that you're chilling with your friends, whatever, and you're in Fox. You might feel like it's more professional, but it's like for me, he gave me like his little white voice on.
Yeah.
And like, oh, my 3D shoes.
Show him the water.
Yeah, like
show him the shoes.
So it's kind of yeah, and that's where like it just sucks because like I get it. I feel like I understand what he's trying to do and I get it, and I feel like I can understand that like frustration of being so far ahead thought wise, and then but just being frustrated how you can't get your points across, Yeah. And so it's like I get it, but it's like dang, like I just wish he, I just wish he was better at getting his point across.
Yeah.
What happened? My phone died?
No, I can't open it. I don't know what was opening, but yeah, that's like a short thing about the Tucker Carlson thing because I'm not really trying to get into like an hour about Kanye.
I mean, we missed this part too. Like I guess all the people that spoke out, like Tremaine, Gigi Hadid, Gabriella. But just to quickly say that, like, that's like another thing. I guess you're trying to make a point too. Like you had like all these people who spoke out, like in the model, and I guess with the models and all the people speaking out, I think that was after he came for that lady that worked at Vogue, Gabriella, who just like was critiquing his work, and I guess like he posted a picture of her like with her boots and like kind of like bullying her, and I guess that is kind of wrong because like how your fan base is, but it is kind of crazy. You see other people that come out now to like defend this woman, but like they never defended Kanye for anything.
No.
Like at all. It's like you don't think anything that Kanye went through was wrong. No one said anything when Pete Davidson tattooed his kids on his neck. So I feel like all these things are just extreme points that he's trying to make. Like you guys have a whole lot to say now, but when Pete Davidson had my kids tattooed, no one said nothing.
You called him a heroin addict.
Yeah.
That John was mad for him.
But that is really crazy, right? Don't you think if you really outraged about something, you would be like, why does this man have this other man's kids tattooed on his neck? That's weird. Nobody calls out though, because they're scared of the Kardashians or something. It's just weird.
Now I'm not gonna do it here because we can do this Kanye thing for 17 hours, but yeah. I do have a thing, in his Drink Champs interview, he did break down a lot of like the media and business side of things where your average person wouldn't necessarily know, or they would be quick to say something's a conspiracy theory, and I just want to highlight it because I want to acknowledge it at least. So I do agree with his sentiments on the type of the media and what they push, and people having an agenda, and we spoke about it earlier. But like, yeah, the media is powerful, and they have an agenda, and they have a point in doing these things. Like, there's no point in having a platform if you're not going to leverage it for your own purpose, and most of the time that's money. But in other parts is politics, and other parts is a group of people might want to put another group of people down. Like, that's just part of the thing. So when you're seeing these advertisements, or a specific clip gets clipped from a TV show, and all these media outlets, all 19 of them, as you might see on your IG, puts out the same exact clip. Like, there is a reason for those things. Like, there is.
Like, I feel like the Shade Room is money, obviously,
right?
Because they make money from this stuff now, and clout,
right?
Money and clout. But then other stuff like CNN, they have a bigger purpose. Their stuff is usually political.
Yeah, and people are involved in these different things, right? Like, Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, so whatever the Washington Post puts out is going to be in the best light of
him.
Jeff Bezos, right? I work, like, Bloomberg has Bloomberg News, so Bloomberg News is only going to put things that have the same sort of political views or alignments as Michael Bloomberg. So that's not like a hot take to think that the media pushes certain things, and everybody's pushing that Kanye said word all lives matter thing, but I haven't seen any of that same media push when it came to Black Lives Matter being a scam.
Yeah, which is like interesting. It's like,
right?
Why wasn't this more talked about? Because everybody's gonna have egg on their face.
Right, because everybody's gonna look stupid.
On the left side, yeah.
Right, and that's what it is.
It's annoying, but so. I mean, something else that people said that they think that Kanye also could be really lonely right now, and he's just having like a break, like a mental break. Like, I feel like the thing is, all these things could be true, right? Like, he could be right in what he's doing, but at the same time, he could also be going through like some stuff where he's just really lonely and acting out and having like a mental breakdown. Multiple things can't be true, so it's just hard to really pinpoint exactly what he's going through. But people do think like he's just, it's kind of sad because like he just doesn't have anybody who's really telling him about himself. And I mean, I guess Nori was kind of good. Like, I feel like, I don't know, Nori kind of gives me skeptical vibes because like I feel like was pushing this stuff saying he's gonna own the weekend, and like this weekend he's gonna I got more views in the game. So it's like, is your motive, was your motive just to get views? Like, oh, we had the most views, more views than SNL. I think Kanye said that. Like, apparently there's more. There are other times he was on there had more views than Kim on SNL. Like, I think Kanye said that though, but. So it's like, dang, like, do you think Nori is actually in his camp, like trying to, you think he's a good friend and actually trying to help him? Because sometimes, I do think, he is lonely. He doesn't have really like any real people in his life anymore. He doesn't have a wife anymore. So it's like, dang, like, that's sad. But it's like, do you question if Nori is actually a true friend to him, or do you feel like? I mean, I think he has Dave Chappelle, which is good too. But
I'm not gonna sit here and act like, because that's one thing people do that I hate. I'm not gonna sit here like I act like I know Kanye, like I know Nori based off of interviews, or somebody that I've watched for 20 years through a screen. I'm not gonna act like I know this person, but my opinion, I think that you can't be rich and have friends. I think that when you're rich, the people that you talk to are people that you get money with, or that it's beneficial for you to be seen with them. So I'm not gonna say that Nori is not a real friend of Kanye because I don't know them. But I think that when you get to a certain level of money and status, the people that you interact with are there for business. For example, and not to point out anybody specifically, when you look at Kanye and Good Music, Kanye knew Pusha T, and Pusha T knows Kanye because of the music business. Kanye knows Big Sean because of the music business. Kanye knows Sci-Hi the Prince because of the music business. Kanye knows Kid Cudi because of the music business. Never met, and you can be friends with people that you meet in business, but in general, all of these people are around you because of the music business. Yeah. And business and friends don't mix.
But I mean, I feel you can still create friendships.
That's what I just said,
yeah.
But all of this, at the root of it, is business, and it's beneficial for Big Sean to be with Kanye because you're going to get more money that way, right? So to me, when money's involved, friendships go out the window, right? Like, we saw that with like the Joe Budden podcast breakup. Yeah. Like, they might have met each other.
And that sucks. They were friends kind of before.
Right. They met each other organically, but the second business gets involved, the whole thing blows up.
Yeah.
So for me, you can't mix the two. So I'm
And
not going to say
that
that.
lonely at the top sentiment comes from.
I'm not going to say that they're not real friends, but in my opinion, it behooves somebody that has contact with Kanye to be in contact with Kanye because it's going to make your life elevate.
Yeah.
So whenever that's the case, there's it's never going to be like quote unquote genuine in my opinion. It's always going to be motivated by money. So I don't know.
Yeah. So that's why it's like, yeah. Could it be different if Nori was talking? I mean, maybe he is talking to him behind the scenes and like they're both mutually benefiting. You could say that they're mutually benefiting because Nori is giving him a place to talk for, it was like 3+ hours, giving him a place just to freely talk where he's getting censored everywhere else. Mm-hmm. And Nori's also benefiting because he's, making money.
And I'm not going to speak on Nori because this is going to sound like kind of, I don't want it to come across as disrespectful, but the type of things that Kanye's talking about, he couldn't even talk like, so I'm like putting myself out there. He couldn't talk to me about it and I would understand necessarily even a lot of that stuff. He's talking to people that have never been in these rooms or never seen the type of things that he's even speaking about. So sometimes it's kind of hard to like, being on a podcast or be on a show discussing these things with people that have no idea what you're talking about or know about the people that you're referencing.
Yeah.
So it could be genuine. I'm not going to say it's not, but at the same time, no matter what, money is involved, and that is, the point of most of the reasons why we do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why, like, it sucks. I mean, I think the only people that you could say maybe might be your genuine people in your camp are like, if you had a wife. But even then.
Why is she your wife?
Yeah.
Because you Kanye.
Because you wonder if Kim and Kanye would have even had kids if they weren't who they were.
And listen, that's applicable to any relationship. Like, the reason why your wife is with you is because of some sort of benefit. Like, it's not because...
Yeah, we talked about this before. I still don't believe that fully 100%.
That would... No,
but I mean, like, I feel it makes you sound like your wife is using you or your husband's using you. For saying that there's a benefit.
To a certain extent, they are, because... The reason why you would want to have kids with a woman is because she provides some sort of benefit for your kids or benefit for yourself. Whatever that benefit is, if she cooks for you and you find that to be beneficial, that's why you're marrying her.
But the main basis of why people should get married, that is why people get married. But the reason why I think you should get married is love. It should be your love for somebody. Like, you love them and like you really want to spend your life with them. And then you guys become a partner. Like, you be partners and still love each other, like business partners, whatever.
Okay.
Like, no, but babe, like, we're not married, and I've been living with you for over a year. Like, what benefit am I getting if we're not married and we're living together? Like, there's no benefit neither of us are getting except for sharing bills. Like, the marriage thing, yeah, that's more of a tax.
Well, I would disagree because if you're not getting a benefit, then you wouldn't be in a relationship, no?
No, what's the benefit? I just love you.
But why?
Because I love you.
It's not for no reason.
Because
like,
your personality is cool.
right. So
it's
that's a benefit. You're taking it like.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm taking it too literally. Because there is a.
I'm not giving you $100 million, but there's still a benefit in being in a relationship.
What's the benefit? Companionship?
I don't know. You would have to speak for yourself.
I'm asking you.
You would have to speak to.
I'm asking you. What do you think for yourself?
We're not bringing this into question about me. I'm just saying there's a benefit. There's a reason for everything.
What benefit do you get from dating me?
I don't know, but I probably wouldn't say it on the podcast.
So what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
No, I wouldn't ask you that here.
No.
But
yeah, but why can't you say it out loud? Bad.
No, it's just nobody's business. Like, seriously.
Whatever. And
that's not me not saying it on the thing because I don't feel like there's a benefit here because obviously I'm here doing this shit. Like, I don't want to be recording.
Whoa.
I don't want to be recording this. So
why are you recording it?
Because there's a benefit to it. No, seriously. Like,
okay,
no, but you don't need to. That's not a hot take. That's not saying anybody's wrong. Like,
but
why would anybody do anything if there was
but if you're doing anything that you enjoy, what's the benefit? Enjoyment?
Yeah, two things can be true, but sometimes you also might not enjoy something and do it just because there's a benefit to it. I don't enjoy doing this. I don't enjoy talking to people. I don't think
you should say that while you're trying to gain a following, though. For me, that seems like you're hustling backwards.
I don't think so. But we can have that discussion another time. But yeah, I don't know if they're friends or not, but yeah.
But yeah, I say all that to say is that, I mean, I'm trying to find a silver lining in fame, but when it comes to friendships and having people in your corner,
There is no silver lining. It's just money.
I think it's possible that deep down you could still have. Why is my phone screen not?
I disagree.
Deep down, you could have somebody that's like really in your camp. Like I don't think it's crazy to think that every famous person doesn't have at least one person that really cares about them. Like it could even be your own parents, obviously. I don't think it's crazy to think that you can have one person that truly cares about you and loves you and just there for you.
I don't, but I would put my money more on somebody not having anybody than somebody having somebody if you were rich. But that's just my
But
opinion.
people have friends before the fame.
Right, and what happens with those friends?
Well, yeah, they want something.
So
But what about your parents? I mean, I know people's parents switch up too.
yeah, so I'm saying that I would put more money on people that are rich because that's why they all be depressed.
Well, I would never want to be famous or rich then. That's sad.
That's what it is. People talk about it. I was just listening to a YouTuber talk about it. How some lady in her town, he's not even rich like that. And he's rich. He has way more money than me. But he's talking about a lady tracked him down 3 times on separate occasions, asking. She don't even know him.
Asking for money.
No, he don't even know her name. Asking for money for the light bill, asking for money for all types of stuff.
It's crazy.
You don't know her. Asking money for to buy her kids clothes for back to school. So I don't know that life, but what I would believe is that at any point everybody's with you for a benefit, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's life. That's what makes sense. Why would you do something that doesn't help you? That sounds stupid. That's working backwards. You're with your wife because she provides some sort of benefit.
Yeah.
If you can't take care of your kids, that's not a benefit. So you probably shouldn't be with her. So there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to fame and riches, people only want to use you for the new lamp truck. They want to use it for superficial things. So
It's sad though. 'Cause I just feel like, I mean, like I said, I'm sure there's scenarios, but that's not the case. I'm sure. But
yeah, of course. Not everybody's parents is gonna switch up on you. Not everybody's friends are gonna switch up on you. But
some people really don't care that much about that stuff.
Yeah, but if I had to put money on it, if I'm sitting next to my man that's worth $100 million and he didn't do anything to try to put me in a position to be better, now I'm gonna be in that position anyway. But I'm just saying I could understand how somebody would feel some type of way about that.
Yeah, because it's like, think about it. Like, realistically, like you don't owe people in your life nothing. Like just because you're my friend, like you're my friend because you're my friend. Why is it now that if I got famous or got to some money, why do I now have to like share that with you?
Right. And the YouTuber that I'm referencing, he was like, ain't nobody ever contacted me when I was broke. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kicked out the army, all types of stuff. Anybody that watches any of the streamers knows what I'm talking about. But he's like, y'all ain't contact me. Y'all ain't check on my well-being or any of these things. But now I got some money. And now people want to be like, oh, let me get on stream.
Yeah.
Let me help me with my YouTube. All right.
And I mean, I feel like if you had like a genuine friend though who was there for you since day one, I was always there for you with nothing to offer, I would be like, all right, here's some money.
Now that person in particular, that's what the case is. Like, he goes back to the hood because he's from the hood. He goes back to the hood, supports them. Everybody put all his mans on with their channels and making sure they could get money too.
And that's the thing. I think paying someone on is better than just giving somebody money. Because like I realistically, how do I send you like a payment every month just because you're my friend?
Yeah. Let's get back.
I can never be famous.
Let's spin it back to Kanye thing.
But yeah, just to finish. I mean, we have 2 more things on Kanye just to finish it up. I mean, the main thing was, I guess we could talk about the Jewish comments and the banks banning him and drink champs. Because the only other thing I wrote down was Candace Owens, like, this kind of going back to the White Lives Matter, was saying that we give the corporations our money, but we're not canceling white-owned brands after they disrespect you. So we kind of talked about this in the car a few days ago, where we were saying, like, Gucci, for example, like, you could say they kind of disrespected us. People could say, but we talked about that also off camera. How we could say it could have just been tone deaf, or it could genuinely have been disrespectful. And what are people still wearing? Gucci. But they're mad about the White Lives Matter thing. But you're basically saying that White Lives Matter. You walk around with White Lives Matter on your back every day, by giving brands your money, your hard earned money. After they disrespect you, they don't even like you. They're racist. A lot of these brands are racist. They don't even like you. They have a history of racism, but you still giving them your money. So basically, you're walking around with White Lives Matter on your back, like. Hypothetically, not hypothetically, but like symbolically, because their life must matter if you're feeding their families, right? Their life matters to you then. So I thought that was a good little hot take, right? I agree with that. Mm-hmm. Like you had these brands that disrespect you, you had these people that disrespect you, you had these people that don't like you, and you're feeding their families, still paying their money in their pocket for the sake of I got that Gucci. Okay, Gucci had blackface, mask, and whatever, right? So yeah, I mean that was kind of a Lou, you have anything with that? You agree? That's it. I wish I would have had that earlier, but I read it too late. That kind of goes back to the White Lives Matter thing.
Yeah, black people dick eat white people.
Yeah, like and they walk around every single day with. That's what she was saying with it on your back, like on your back invisibly, because like so many black people walk around with wanting that white approval.
And there's nothing,
whether it's direct or not.
Now I'll say there's nothing wrong with, because that's like like we are the world kind of thing, which I don't agree with. But when it comes to people that have a very known position of being against you, and you still want to do anything to put money in their pockets, that's nuts. Yeah. Because you'll instantly pay $600 for some Balenciaga Triple S sneakers, but you would never give $600 to anybody that looked like you.
Yeah.
Never in your life. Never. I guarantee you would never.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why, like, I've been supporting Martine Rose. Yeah. Because to me, Martine Rose is probably one of the better designers. Because you see, I've been wearing Martine Rose for years. 4
or 5 years at this point, yeah.
Before anybody, like, I don't even really see people wearing her, but those are specific reasons why.
Kanye just brought her up recently.
Right, exactly.
So he knows, like, that if you know, you know.
If you know, you know type shit. You never heard anybody in music be like.
Talking about Martine Rose.
Right. Now. There was a specific reason why I support her. And that's the difference, right? I'll give $1,000 to some white European that I never heard of, in the same exact way that I would not hesitate to give $1,000 to a person that looks like me. Yeah, I don't personally care. Yeah. Everybody else cares. If it ain't Balenciaga, if it ain't Gucci, if it ain't Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, or it's like, oh, these black-owned brands be bugging. They want this much money for this. It's like, why not?
Throating.
Why can't you give them that? But you spending your whole check. You saved up 4 months of your check to buy that bag.
That's funny.
Like, you sat there and saved 4 months.
4 months is funny.
No, but that's a reality for
no, for sure. I just saw somebody say, "Yo, we got a combined income of $1,000 a month in this household." I said, "Huh?"
Yeah, I saw that too.
I said, "Huh?"
I'm like, I hope they were trolling. Please, please be trolling. But that's real. People it's 6 months to have a check to get a $1,500 bag. Like, that's really people's reality. But then if a black-owned brand has something that costs like a lot of money, it's like, oh, black people be bugging. They try to scam. How they scamming? Like, it's expensive to if anything, these bigger brands are scamming because they have cheaper vendors. They're getting this stuff produced for cents. A black-owned brand is paying full price for a vendor, and they had to recoup that money, you know? I just bought that beanie from that girl today. It was like $90 a beanie. I'm going to give her my money, whatever. She might be upcharging a little bit, but she probably needs to make
$90.
Her material is really good. So
you bought two?
Yeah, it's like $140.
See how quickly we changed.
So, but she's black, I think. Is she black? I don't even know if she's black, but she might be black. Her brand's in Philly. I mean, look, that's proving my point, though. I'm giving this girl who came up on TikTok my money because I feel like she deserves it. Her hats I like the hats. I mean, you see Montclair stealing her design, so like clearly she's making an impact. And I don't know if she's black, but she's somebody just a small brand who's becoming bigger. I'd rather give her my money than Montclair, you know. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, she got to make up that money. She might be upcharging, but let her upcharge.
100% is.
Yeah, but let her upcharge. Let her make her coin. Because she, half of that might be going towards the production.
That's all the shit is anyway. All the shit is upcharged.
Yeah, but half of it is probably going to production. Like, she has to pay for the hats, which are probably not super expensive, but she has to pay to print her designs. I mean, we'll see when we get the hats, like, what the quality is like, and you could judge more, but.
No, I'm not saying she overcharges. I'm saying everybody overcharges for everything, right?
Most of her hats were actually 70 too. Like 90 was just the one color, right?
The $500 Saint Laurent shirt is not. Yeah. Like they're upcharging like crazy.
It's really like 100.
No,
not even.
No, 50. It's more like 10. Seriously, that's how they end up making. You wonder how Louis Vuitton makes $1 billion selling. And
for me, I don't disagree with it. They earn that being that infamous, they earn that name to be able to sell that. Like, make your coin.
Right. Just keep it consistent between the different brands. But let's wrap this up because it's been a while.
Yeah, but we knew this was gonna be mostly Kanye. No. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, our podcasts are usually 1 hour 45 minutes. The rest of these 3 topics are not gonna take 45 minutes, and they might. But yeah, the last thing I had was just the Jewish stuff. Like him, and like that being like it seemed like his breaking point for being canceled, because he'll never be canceled. But that seemed like that was a huge thing. Like, we could just talk about like how the Jewish community, that's like a thing. I mean, we kind of dabbled into a little bit earlier, but like that's just like one of those categories where I feel like when you cross that territory, you're getting into some, hot waters with that. And like, we've seen our own people in the past get canceled for stuff. Like he said Ice Cube and the Cannon, even Candace Owens, I think he had to go in front of like a literally in the court because of comments they tried to say that she liked Hitler or something when it was taken out of context. And I think she won the case. They tried to take a clip out of context when she never said she liked him. But I feel like, once you touch that territory of Jewish people, and like now you have people I literally blocked somebody today. You got people making memes saying like, oh, he might have died, showing Hitler, but he birthed, like others, and they're showing Kanye. Like this is like very extreme and psychotic. Like you people are psychotic to try to compare him to Hitler.
Well, you can't say shit like I'm anti-Semitic because that's like.
But he's being facetious.
Yeah, but you can't be facetious about stuff like that, right? And now the thing about
it sucks. So that's like a soundbite now. I'm saying that.
Yeah, the thing about the black community is that black people think that because we went through whatever we went through, that we have like a free pass to say whatever we want and have no like repercussions. Just because black people went through slavery doesn't mean that you can now say anything you want about Jewish people. Like saying you're doing anti-Semitic and you're going DEFCON on anybody. Like, people have to cut that shit out. Like,
even though he did admit that he spelled it wrong.
Yeah.
And that DEFCON 3 means that you're preparing for the defense. Like, he's on the defense. He's not saying he's on the offense about to attack them.
Yeah, and I get the whole reverse racism thing. But at the same time, you can't say whatever the fuck you want about everybody just because of slavery. Like, you can't. Yeah. Like, sorry. You can't say,
that can't be like the fall guy. Like, oh, we were slaves.
Even in the Drink Champs interview, he's like, oh, I'm on my anti-Semitic vibe. Like,
you can't say that.
You can't say that.
Even though, like we said, he was just being sarcastic, but it's like, people are going to take that and twist it. People are going to take that to heart.
Now, I know we went through what we went through, but that would be the equivalent. Like, imagine
someone
a black person.
Anti-black vibe,
I'm on my anti-black vibe right now. And, like, I know the whole reverse racism thing, but realistically, it's the same sentiment.
But do you agree on the fact that when a white person says that, like, I'm on my anti-black vibe, it has more of a harsh thing because of the history? Like, there's never been a history in the world, as far as I know, of blacks against Jewish people.
There hasn't, but there could be a black person that's aligned with that sentiment.
Yeah.
Kanye could still be aligned with the Hitler sentiment.
Yeah. That's true.
Just like there's never been a history of, like, black people against Native Americans, but if somebody came out, because
because that just makes it sound stupid. Like, so now you're saying that they can't say hateful things just because there's no history of
right.
Hate. Yeah.
That sounds crazy to me. So
yeah, I wish he didn't say that I'm on my anti-Semitic vibe or on my anti-Semite vibe. Like, I don't know why he said that, honestly.
If anything, he should be on some anti-black shit. Like, that's what he like. And what I mean by that is he's mad at Jewish people for their power, and also their ability to monetize black people
are like plates, basically.
Right.
And like our destruction of our own community.
But ain't nobody putting a gun to anybody's head and saying, rap about spending
like, okay,
the block.
it's wrong. Like, they shouldn't be promoting it either. They shouldn't be all happy with their hands are ready to make money off that. But also, black people don't have to make music about that, and we will still be popping. Like, I don't think black people understand that power.
Michael Jackson's the largest and probably most influential artist of all time.
And he never said nothing about
spinning
nobody.
the block.
Yeah.
And I went to Michael Jackson's house, by the way, and poverty. Gary, Indiana is probably one of the worst places I've ever visited in the entire country. And for context, I've been to almost every state in the entire country. Gary, Indiana, in his house, ain't no way that him and all his family lived in that shed.
Yeah, it wasn't like 8 of them or something.
Like, not even gonna exaggerate. The shed in my parents' backyard was probably bigger than their whole house.
That was probably depressing.
Insane.
Growing up in a house like that.
People sleeping on a couch. You got triple bunk beds.
So he grew up in the epitome of the hood.
Right, and he ain't nothing about spinning no block, nothing about no robbing nobody. So you don't have to make. You don't have to make the choice to rap about these things.
I mean, Rihanna's from the island, so I don't know if she really counts, but Beyonce.
They probably go through poverty.
Well, no, yeah, they do, and then she could still talk about it. But I mean, like, we're talking about Black American culture and, like, what we go through.
And I'm not anti, like, rap, right? Because people rap about their environments and the scenarios they're in, and you can always make the argument that they're saying those things because of the position that they were put in, and I understand that completely.
Yeah, and people make music expressing themselves. If they become famous, that's not their fault.
Because the thing is, in the 90s, when people rapped about their scenarios, they rapped about trying to, the hardships they went through and then trying to get out of them. The difference between there and now is that people rap about it and they're promoting it, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we'll talk about it later, but, drill music,
You were talking about Avon. Like, that's what people were saying, that Avon was still alive. They said he would have been rapping about killing a 15-year-old until he was, like, 80. I'm like, yeah, that's whack. Like, what's that guy? He killed Tuka? I don't know if he killed him, but he was like 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So people saying like that's whack, like you was gonna spend the rest of your career rapping about a dead 15-year-old who's not, who's long gone. Like it's like lame.
The only thing about that specific situation is that they were all the same age at the same time. But
But that's what people's point. Like, you might have been 80, like, and you're rapping about somebody who literally forever 15. Like, you sound lame now. Yeah, you guys were the same age at the time, but it's like, like, he's forever 15. He died at the age. So you're still talking about somebody who never even got to see the same age as you, who basically is still a 15-year-old while you would have been 80,
Yeah.
Like, theoretically, they would have been. They never aged to 80, so you're still talking about a kid somebody who you were a kid when it happened, but you're still talking about as an adult, you're still talking about a kid that died. Like you sound lame, So yeah, it's like it's stupid. That's like the issue. Is like the people bragging about still like bodies that they caught like years ago. It's like, and I get the gang life and stuff, but it's like, but then like you said, then Kanye can't get mad at the Jewish people for taking advantage of that.
The money.
That's an internal issue. That's a black issue. We got to fix that community. And I guess that's still the point he's making, that black people as a community, we need to fix ourselves, or we'll never get to the point of like being like, Jewish people have each other's backs. And I think that's the thing he's really trying to say at the end of the day. Like, he respects it and he wishes that we had that, but he's also feeling like it's still up with whoever is trying to be a part of the destruction. You can still be an enabler and be a part of the destruction, because he says they're saying also behind the scenes things that you should be doing or shouldn't be doing. Like, they still have kind of a say. Like, labels still have a say on what you should and shouldn't do. They still have a say on what music to release, stuff like that.
They do, but their say is based on what sells, and what sells is that type of shit to our community. So it's still us at the end of the day. If people weren't buying the "I'm going to spin a block and shoot his face off," then the labels wouldn't push it. Because the same label that pushes the "I'm gonna shoot your face off" music is the same label that also promotes Bruno Mars. So they just promote whatever makes money.
Yeah.
They don't see like.
But they know, if they know that it makes money, they'll never try to promote it to not like, oh, you know what, maybe we shouldn't talk about this no more. Like, they would still not morally see. Like, that's what he's trying to say. Like, we're the morals, and you could say, yeah, this makes money, but we're the morals, and like maybe you shouldn't be talking about this anymore.
And not that like this is a pass for it, but there's never been morals in business.
There hasn't, but it's like, but then to Kanye's point, it's like, you say something about them and the whole world collapses, even people who aren't Jewish. But then like you say something about us, and it's like further proves like they're making money off of our plight. But then you say something about them, and everybody has their back, even though they're the ones that are participating in not caring about Black lives. Like, I feel like at the end of the day, this all comes back to the people, him proving the point that nobody actually cares about Black lives.
Oh yeah, we of course we know that.
And I feel like he's just making an extended point about that. And by one of those things was him bringing up another group and seeing how everybody react. When every day nobody shows that they care about it, including the people in power that are profiting off of the detriment of our lives. So maybe this was one giant point that he's trying to make. He's just very frazzled. When he explains stuff, he's very like hype. It makes me like have anxiety. Like, I get like anxious off people who can't gather their thoughts, and you could tell he's good at it. Like, so he'll end up circling back. Like, he'll go off on a tangent and it all comes back. Like, you see something that he never even forgets things he brings up. Like, he'll bring it back. But it be making me anxious. Like, I can't. People who communicate like that make my chest hurt.
Yeah. Anything else on this?
No, that was it. I mean, the Drink Champs interview was mad long. I say people should go see it. I mean, I did have the bank up there too. Like, that is crazy how he got canceled by a bank. But it's like it sucks. It's like you just sometimes like he even brought up first you get the money, the power, and respect. It's like you don't even got the power yet. You got the money. You didn't get to the power or respect level yet at all. And it's like you can't say them these things until you're in a position to say those things. Unfortunately, like you could say it's against freedom of speech. You could not agree with it, but you see the outcome of not waiting until you have like certain power to do that. Like now a bank is saying that you can't bank with them. Like that's crazy.
It's got to be real power though, and unfortunately, what Kanye's perception is that his idea of power is things like apparel, and that's his determinant as to
like the culture.
Yeah, right. Culture. Like having the Black culture, but the Black culture it runs shit, but it doesn't because it makes things popular, but at the same time,
it's like just a component of people's money, but it's not the actual main thing.
Yeah, like TikTok, if Black people, because I know Black people like to say that, if they weren't doing dances, TikTok would disappear. Like, yeah, it wouldn't be what it is, but it would still exist. Mm-hmm. So because of that, they don't care. Like, there's no there's no power in, if Kanye stopped making Yeezys, Nike's going to be fine, Adidas is going to be fine. So it can't be done through apparel. You have to do with what other business people do and infiltrate everything. So the person that owns, like, let me try to think of an actual person that has some ability with this stuff, right? You take just at a surface level without thinking too hard, right? What I always give the Amazon example. Jeff Bezos was selling books on the internet, right? Then he started selling things like toys and everything else. And then it became an e-commerce website. And then it became, I'm going to make Amazon Prime lose a significant amount of our revenue and profits to get people their things quicker. Mm-hmm. And then he made AWS, and it's a web platform where people can host and do all of their logistics and everything else on it. And then let me go work with all these other businesses. So now AWS is responsible for Netflix of the world and UPS and FedEx and every other company that uses AWS's services. So now Jeff Bezos went from selling books to now being infiltrated into every Fortune 500 company that exists. And then now he makes, now Thursday Night Football is hosted on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Now Jeff Bezos went from selling books to selling AWS web hosting to being infiltrated in all these Fortune 500 companies to now being involved with the NFL. And now the NFL connections happen where now he's connected with all the NFL owners who will probably come from technology anyway. And that's real. That's where the real power is what your ability to flip whatever your circumstances are to every other line of business. And he hasn't done that. You can't.
And you see he did it slowly.
Yeah, you don't get to deal with Adidas and you don't get a deal with Gap and then think that that's going to be your key to running these businesses, because that's not the case.
Yeah,
it needs to be bigger than that. You have to have a bigger vision than.
I mean, he kind of admitted that though. He said like his deal with Gap and Adidas, he felt like it was like theoretically, it was like hypothetically interning, like he was interning at them. So he kind of was using them in a way like to gain knowledge, but not necessarily planning for it to be a forever thing.
Right, but getting that knowledge doesn't also help if you don't play the game too.
Yeah, he still should be playing the game. Like at this point, he should still just be laying low. Like I know you want to be outspoken, I get that. Like I get that, but you got to understand there's people in place, and like you just got to play the game.
You know what the thing is? He can't be the martyr for Black people and then also be the businessman at the same time, because they unfortunately don't intermix. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because people that are rich or wealthy, they don't see color in the sense that they see money. So being both at the same time is probably a tough position. You've never seen any of if you look at the top 100, if you look at the billionaires index, right? Everybody that's a billionaire, anybody in their free time, nobody's listening to this shit anyway, but anybody in their free time, if they went and looked at every billionaire that exists currently in the world, run that and then give me the numbers back on how many of them had a position politically or socially, publicly, what would be the word? Like publicly being against racism or anything like that. Yeah. I would guarantee you it's zero.
Yeah.
I would guarantee you it's zero.
I just think that's his issue too. He wants to be everything. You want to be the president. You want to be the Bernard Arnault. You want to be the Black martyr, like you said. Like I put in my life on the line for all this. Like you want to be the fashion designer. Like you want to be the best guy in music. Like it's like he wants to be everything.
And I hate to sound like you can't, because that you can't shit is what would keep us back from progressing.
Yeah.
But the acknowledgement of the reality is also important as well, right? Like, I'm not exaggerating. If you go down that whole line of billionaires, there's not a single one. Like, the greatest investor ever is Warren Buffett, and I can guarantee, like, I haven't heard a single thing publicly about disparaging, and this is not an attack against these people, but I haven't heard a single thing disparaging any of these institutions or like the system, right? All I see is Wells Fargo redlining Black people, right? Mm-hmm. So, the two things don't mix, right? There's no billionaire with a political agenda that benefits Black people. There's just not. Like, there's just not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like he should have just played the game, because now it's like a disaster kind of unfolding. Like the bank thing is really crazy to me, but it's like.
But at the same time, it's not. I can't run you not like it's not like the government. The government kind of has to be fair to everybody. I'm a business. I can do whatever I want. So if you're aligning yourself with what I perceive to be dangerous rhetoric, get out.
Yeah.
I don't have to have you as a customer.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he tried to make a point though. He's like, if Chase will do this to me, if JP Morgan will do this to me, then imagine what they're doing to you guys. But I'm like, I don't know if that's really a fair comparison. Because it's like, yeah, that could be a point, but also it's like, they're only doing this to protect their brand. They don't care about the average everyday person, like, making tweets. Like,
Yeah, an average person can't even do business with JP Morgan because you have to have money to do business with JP Morgan anyway. So it's not really applicable to us.
It's not Capital One.
Chase maybe because JP Morgan owns Chase, but JP Morgan specifically, what did he say? He gave them 180 million or something like that.
Yeah, I think 140.
Yeah, we're not giving him that much money. So
I mean, and he don't seem too stressed on the Drink Champs thing. I mean, he was drinking the lines, smoking a little bit, so he might be stressed and just not showing it or wants to admit it. He don't want to admit that he's maybe messed up, but I'll be a little stressed out to have till the end of November to hit 140 somewhere. But I mean, I feel like we would have heard by now if other banks were denying him, so I'm sure maybe he found another place. But maybe we wouldn't know though, because the only reason we knew about this because I guess Kanye told Candace Owens, and Candace Owens then published the letter that Jake sent him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's all. But Kanye, we'll see how this plays out going forward. But I ain't stressing. Like as a Kanye fan, I'm chilling. It's whatever to me. I don't really care. All these Kanye fans are like freaking out. I'm like, just relax. Like you have go to work. Go to work.
Go to work. That's the funny shit.
You should be stressing about what you eating for lunch tomorrow on your break. Like it's not that. Like this is not stressing me. Like people are like, oh, I'm so stressed. Like why? Get a life.
Stressed.
Get a life.
Get a personality outside of the internet.
Yeah.
But speaking of beefs.
Yeah. I mean, we got a whole bunch of beefs, right?
Speaking of beefs. Super
Nicki.
pause, but we got a lot of beef on the way.
Nicki and Lotto.
Nicki and Lotto. Barbs. Come on.
I'm like a half Barb.
I wonder if any Barbs.
Because I'm not like a diehard Nicki fan, but I have been a fan since 2010.
Barbs be giving me my subs.
Yeah.
On my other channel.
I mean, I'm team Nicki with a lot of this stuff. Like, I get a lot of people's perspective thinking that she's like the common denominator, but I hate that whole common denominator argument because I could be the common denominator in a lot of people's stories. Like, if you look at my life, it's like, dang, Mal lost this friend, this friend, this friend, this friend. But I don't think people realize that something that comes with being like the most successful person or just but I'm saying highly successful, that stuff happens. And like, that could be also like a factor. Like, I'm not saying that I'm the perfect person, that like everybody's just hating on me. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I hate that Nicki's a common denominator. It's like, no, the common denominator here could be her success.
You being Mal Minaj is crazy.
I am a Mal Minaj. No, but I'm saying like people would be like, oh, it's a red flag when a girl loses a lot of friends. I'm like, how's it a red flag? Like, people don't realize you could come across a lot. It's just like, it sucks. That's like when you grow up with people and then you just become successful, people switch up on you. Like that's not a red flag. I didn't do nothing wrong.
Here's what I'll say. I will admit that my opinions on Nicki are a little bit skewed and biased because I find men are catty too. We should acknowledge that men are catty too, but I always disagree with like the taking things to the internet and just the way Nicki generally goes about, her issues or beefs or discrepancies, just because of how I handle certain things. So I would like people to handle things in what I would consider to be a more mature way. Text me, whatever. I don't like taking things to the internet and tweeting stuff like that.
But what about the fact that Nicki didn't come to the internet first with this? Lotto did.
Yeah, I'm saying in general, right?
And also Nicki does make tweets that could be, all right, it's a little shady. Like I hate when people throw stones behind their hand, but a lot of stuff that a lot of thought were subtweets were literally not subtweets. So It's just paranoia.
Right.
Which I've dealt with that.
I'm saying in general, like a history of like, going on the internet, doing Queen Radio, all that kind of stuff. My personal preference is not to do those things, but I do understand if you took it to the internet, then I'm a address it on the internet kind of mentality.
Or if you took it to the public, I'm gonna address the public. Like with the Queen Radio, a lot of times that was after something happened, like after the shoe was thrown. Right. Nicki didn't say that, wasn't really saying that before that. As I can recall, but it was like she only said stuff after the fact.
Right.
Or after Cardi went on interview saying stuff about her, she responded in the interview.
Now, here's what I will say. I give Nicki the same, and I don't know what word to use here. I was gonna immediately say grace. Or leeway might be the better word. I'll give the same grace or leeway that I give Drake, because the thing is, when you're super successful and you're at the top of whatever it is that you're doing, it's gonna come with hate, but it's also gonna come with people expecting things. It's gonna come with beef. Like And one of the things that has been a common occurrence is that Drake, over the course of his career, has always had issues with somebody, whether it was initiated by him or initiated by
And
other
I
people.
judge that, which makes me kind of hypocritical. 'Cause
Right.
I judge that, but I'm also finding grace for Nicki.
Right. So,
Yeah.
in my opinion, Drake has all these issues because of people not liking his success, right?
Yeah.
Like things like that.
Which I agree. Like, I feel like you gave me that perspective, and that made me agree with that.
Right, like with Kanye kind of initiating the trying to blackball Drake just because, you know, Drake was becoming super successful, and you know, people wanting features and things like that. But one thing that's common between both Nicki and Drake is that they always are on a song, you know, and you can make the argument that they're doing it for their own benefit, but at the same time, you know, that you are still giving somebody a look and putting a lot of money in their pockets.
Yeah.
But Drake and Nicki have always been known to work with other artists. Like Drake is always the one to hop on an artist that it might be their first song that
New
got
artist.
hot. And Nicki, you know, same thing, giving looks to people because, you know, a Nicki feature is going to get you a lot of
Yeah.
fans and support for no reason, right?
Yeah.
Like she gave, what was his name? What was his name?
What song was it?
It like came out when I was still doing like reaction videos. Saba Baby, I think was she gave him a feature.
She did a lot of features when you look back.
Right.
And vice versa, because she got that done for her. Like Kanye pinning her on a song before her even first debut album, I think. Like, that's a big deal.
Right.
So she's returning the favor.
So in my opinion, I think that I don't agree with like the, you know, like if you initiate a beef with me because of my success level or whatever, then that's on you. But what's common between them is that they do give people these looks. So it's not like they're beefing with randoms for no reason, and they're not beefing with successful people for no reason. So I will give, you know, Nicki some grace with that.
Cause you agreed like that a lot of Drake's beef was rooted in jealousy
From other people,
even
yeah.
Kanye, and Kanye was, you could say, is a better rapper and more of a legend than Drake, and even he dealt with that with somebody more successful than him.
Right.
Which, you know, Nicki's point is, he felt like she dealt with that from OGs like Lil Kim.
Right. So, you know, when things like this happen, before I was in that same thing. I was giving Drake grace, but I had to sit and think about, you know, what potentially Nicki could be going through. And seeing this situation, it kind of points to that, where it's the expectation of, I need that feature. It's the same thing that people do to Jay-Z. It's like your crowning achievement, or like the thing that everybody wants to strive for as a rapper, is getting that Jay-Z feature.
Yeah.
So like
People
people want
like in your career, you need, like, this Nicki feature will be big for me. Like, this is huge. Her fans will like me. Like,
right. And then you see somebody like Pusha T get multiple. I think Pusha T has gotten multiple Jay-Z features, or like at least, you know, Drake's got multiple features, and obviously Kanye's gotten multiple Drake features. I mean, what am I saying? Pusha T has gotten multiple. You see these different rappers, they get multiple features, but then when you ask, it's like, nah.
Yeah.
So I understand people feeling the type of way, but I think that this has now been like a sort of common occurrence. But
And
also,
I think the thing is too, there's just like, it's like you can't be like, I like you, like you're my inspiration, but then like you're just almost like begging, because it's like, where's, like, you know, where's the like genuineness? Like, I understand, like, you know, you want to work with me, like, in, like, you know, and it's a mutual benefit for both of us potentially, but it's like, where's like the real love, and like, you know.
And that's the thing with me, is that there's artists that I want to work with, not even necessarily because of the money thing, right? Like I would, love to work with Kanye on music because he's the inspiration for a portion of what I do production wise. Like I study his music, different elements of his music that he brought in. Like there's certain beats I'll make even now where like the African drums that he used on 808s and Heartbreaks, I'll incorporate in my music, or like certain synths or basses, whatever, I'll incorporate in my music. So me, I'm more interested in how would it sound if both of us were in a room. Whereas there's other rappers I want to work with where it's like, this rapper's hot, let me send him a beat because it might be out of here and I'll make some money. So I treat people differently. Unfortunately, with Nicki, it seems like everybody views her as a bag, as opposed to, I want to hear how me and Nicki trade verses. They really just want to hear Nicki on my song because it's going to make me poppin'.
Yeah.
Now, as the artist, that's going to make you feel some type of way because everybody's looking at you like a meal ticket.
Yeah, and it's like, dang, like you just want genuine
And it's
support
like,
and love.
do you really like my shit then the way you say you do? Because if you liked me, then that would be your, that would be what you're saying to me. You would be like, I can really hear you on this, as opposed to like, I want you on this because now I'm gonna get hot, and you know, people are gonna be listening to my music.
Yeah.
And I view those things completely different. Like I don't want to work with Kanye for any other reason as opposed like any other reason except for the creativity
Yeah.
aspect. Or like Jay-Z for the creativity aspect. I want to be in those rooms.
Yeah.
Let's work on this. I want to work with Travis.
Like seeing what they could do for like how they could create something so like crazy from, you know, some your contribution.
Right. And nothing ever has to do with music, do with money with me, because I've been making beats for years and have very seldom and very rarely actually put my beats up for sale or put them on YouTube for anybody else to consume. I mostly do this shit for myself because I want to hear what I want to listen to.
Yeah.
So I do it for myself. So I do it for the love of the game, as they would
Yeah.
say. Whereas other people do it for the love of the money, and they want that status of the Nicki feature, and they want the money and the claim that's going to come with it, because that stamps you.
Yeah.
So I understand.
And to Nicki's point too, she said that she didn't get featured for some of her idols, and she's fine with that.
Yeah, and you should.
It didn't stop her from loving them, and it's like, but she feels like a lot of these rappers, when they don't get that feature, they start switching up,
Entitled.
and that's what I feel like is happening with this Lotto
And
situation.
especially when you haven't even accomplished much.
Yeah, like Lotto just really start popping off. Like, and I for me, I really don't get it because I don't think she's that good in my opinion. Like, I don't listen to her enough to really rank it. But I mean, I try to listen to her album that sold 20K that Nicki came at.
When did
It was very mid.
that come out? Because I might have listened
Not
to
that
that
long
one.
ago. Like maybe like I think this year.
I want to think, because one thing I will say about her music is that it's like, how would I explain it? This might be some real nerd, like technical analysis, but the one thing I like about Key Glock is that his production and mastering and the way it sounds sonically is so crisp and beautiful. I think that
I like
Lotto's
Key Glock.
is the same. Like it sounds like expensive.
Yeah.
In terms of the content, it's just not for me, so I can't judge it.
I just don't like for me from the jump. Where her name threw me off from her. It's just like just the name, like you know, that's like being a black rapper and your name being nigger. Like, no, sorry, I'm not making my rap name a derogatory name for mixed people. Like, no thanks. So her name threw me off from the jump. And then her music just was never for me. Like, I never liked the music. So,
Yeah, but
yeah,
get into the beef.
the beef started because
Yep.
And this is the thing. Apparently, like, you know, Nicki just got the Video Vanguard MTV Awards. Lotto was there gassing her up on the stage when they asked her in the pre-show, like, yes, Nicki, I can't wait. I've never seen her in person before. It's my first time seeing her in person. Which is so crazy, right? Like, I feel like a lot of celebrities actually don't see each other in person.
Does Nicki live in California?
Yeah, I think so.
Damn.
But that was her first time seeing her in person, which is crazy. And this footage of her rapping along to when she was up there. So you was fangirling. But then she came, you know, when all the beef happened, said that she thinks Nicki was subtweeting her since March. So if somebody's subtweeting you since March, you going to be fangirling? Anyway. But then, yeah. So that was end of August, you know. So that was only like a month and a half ago. And then you have Nicki's tweets. That was like happening in September, where Lotto thought they were subtweets. And usually it's the barbs, it's the fan bases that start drama, like lots of times. So Nicki would tweet something, and then the barbs will go underneath the tweet and say, and at Lotto. And I mean, we talked about this the other day. Like, celebrities be seeing tweets. When you at them and stuff, they be seeing it sometimes. They scroll through and probably look. You know, they seeing stuff. And if a lot of people are adding you, barbs are adding you, and you seeing that you're attached to a Nicki tweet, you're gonna go look. So I guess like she just felt like all these subtweets are happening. So she actually confronted Nicki in the DMs. And, you know, you could see in the DMs that Nicki posted that they were having a conversation prior to that about the features. And Nicki was just declining them. Like, you know, when it makes sense, it'll make sense. Like, you know, I love you. Like, and she even reached out to her first. Like, you know, hey, like, you know, let me know if you're working on an album. Like, you know, I'm working on mine. Stuff like that. You know, like, you could tell she was being genuine. So then the conversation picked up again in the DMs when Lotto, I guess, confronted her. Like, hey, like, what's going on? Like what are these subtweets? Like, you know. And then Nicki was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you could call me, though. Like, you know, I don't do this back and forth. So, but then Lotto, during this beef, released a phone call. Like, they were just, like, kind of arguing. And Nicki not really understanding what she was saying. It was just, like, you know, I don't know. Like, you had to listen to the call yourself to be a judge of it. But it just was basically, like, Nicki telling her how, like, she should be acting, basically. And, like, saying, you know, you'll learn. Like, you're new in the industry. Like, you shouldn't say certain things, stuff like that. And then Lotto would just be like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. Like, you know, this stupid stuff. But, so then the beef started because submissions for Grammys just came out. Not nominations, but just like the submissions. And Nicki submitted her song, Super Freaky Girl. And instead of it being submitted into the best rap category, it got pushed to best pop. So Nicki was just like saying like, okay, fine, like, I don't care about being moved to the pop category, right? But if I'm gonna be moved, then so should Big Energy be moved. Like it's sonically the same. It's actually produced by the same producer. Sonically the same type of song, like a poppy song, you know, like so sonically it's similar. And it's like she's like, well, shouldn't she be moved too? Like if I'm gonna be moved, that's all she said. Like I think that's fair to use as an example. Nobody really spoke out, which is I hate that. Like you know, I feel like that's like such a hypocritical thing when nobody speaks out. So nobody really spoke out. And then I guess Lada made a. That's why I see Lada brought it to the internet first. She made a tweet along the lines of, because you know she just had the American Music Award nomination that came out, and I don't know if you saw the drama where Kodak was talking smack. Cause I think she won like best song, like Big Energy beat like Super Gremlin for something, and then I think all the nominations. So Kodak been having an issue with her ever since she. Remember there was time she alluded to like he tried to mess with her, and like he was holding her music back because like for her album. So they've been had beef ever since then, even though it could be true, but, you know, she kind of tainted his name if it's not true. And so he, you know, has been calling her names, like calling her cappuccino and saying all these like kind of crazy stuff about her. And so with that, you know, with that being said, that's what Lotto made that tweet. Because she said, I feel like anytime with all these awards lately, all these nominations, like it's always something, which I could get that. Like, it's like, dang, every time something's good happening, you have all these people saying this stuff. But the crazy thing about that is barbs were like, what do you mean all these nominations? Like, this is not nominations. This is just submissions. So I was like, behind the scenes, do you already know that you're going to be nominated, or are you just stupid? Are you just slow? Because these are just submissions. It's not actual nominations yet. Mm-hmm. So she brought it to the internet, you know? Mm-hmm. Sorry, Jesus Christ. Your team. But,
keep going.
Sorry. But yeah, so she brought it to the internet. And then so Nicki just replied back like, or I think she just made a tweet like, this Karen is like, this is what she texted me behind the scenes while all this was happening. Like, you know, it was her saying, Lotto saying, I agree with you with what you're saying, but I can't support you publicly because we ended on a bad note on their phone call that they had.
Which I don't think is crazy.
Yeah. But it's like, why are you on Twitter then? Like, if we're trying to handle it behind the scenes, why are you on Twitter now saying, oh, every time I have a nomination, it's always some drama?
So
they were having a conversation behind the scenes already.
Right. And then
Lotto came to Twitter saying every time these nominations or award shows happen, there's always somebody trying to steal the thunder or whatever. Something along those lines.
Yeah, what was the time? So they were having a conversation before Nicki.
Like when they had the phone call conversation, that was back in early September.
Yeah.
Because that's when she confronted her about the subtweets.
Yeah.
So they haven't talked, like they had a phone call like right after that, after she confronted her about the subtweets, and you could hear like Lotto posted this, which is crazy. Like he was recording her, but she posted the call, and Nicki was like, "I gotta go," like whatever. And all you hear is doop doop doop. So that's how you know, like, come on, you plotting, right? Because you recording. That's how you know, like, you plotting, you know. But so all you heard was doop doop doop, and I guess they never talked since then, you know. Like they never were able to have a conversation. So that's where it kind of ended. Like the phone call just shut off, and then they haven't talked since then. So that's when this stuff happened. But I guess Nicki's bringing up Lotto. Lotto's like, dang, like we just hung up on me like two weeks ago, and we haven't talked. But now you're bringing me up. Mm-hmm. So I think they were talking behind the scenes, and Lotto said to Nicki like, well, we ended on a bad note. That's what I agree with you, but I can't. That's why I'm not publicly defending you because like I don't feel right doing that because we're not even on a good page. But then it's like instead of having that conversation behind the scenes, and Lotto then went to tweet all these every time I have these nominations and stuff, people, it's always something. Mm-hmm. So you brought it publicly. So that's when Nicki was like, this Karen is this, calling her a Karen, which people were mad about for some reason because it's like, oh, you're taking away from her blackness. Like, no, a Karen can be any color. You don't have to be white to be a Karen.
I disagree,
but yeah, so that's how it started. Nicki made that tweet and posted the screenshot saying like, look, she said she agreed with me, but she's too scared to speak out publicly. Mm-hmm. So then it just went back and forth. Like people might know already. Like I don't know if we really have to go down every single thing, but it was like just her saying like, you were subtweeting me for months. Like, why would I support you? And like Nicki's like, I wasn't even subtweeting you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this was about this TikToker, and this was about this person. Like, and you the one taking it person, like a weirdo, And then Nicki made the claims like, you see what happens? Like, they get denied these features, and now they switch up. And then same thing with NLE Choppa. NLE Choppa decided to make tweets during all this and then try to hide his hand. I hate that, right? Like, saying when I become a OG in the game, like I'm not gonna be like this with turn my back on the up and coming. First of all, you're not gonna become an OG. Your music's not good enough for you to become an OG. Like, relax. But it's like then when people calling you out on it, I wasn't even talking about them. It's like, yeah, you like then who are you talking about? Like, you're just having this conversation now of all times when this big fight is happening. I hate that. Like, but so yeah, so then Nicki had to come for him, like, and early Chopper, look, like your team, which is like, do you see the pattern here? Like, no, that's what we're talking about with hating on the people, and now you switch up and you don't get that feature. So she's like, see the pattern here, and early Chopper wanted a feature that I denied, and now he's saying stuff about me publicly.
And I know for 100% as an artist that, like, you see Coyle Ray get the feature. Mm-hmm. I know 100% as an artist that was trying to get a feature, you're gonna look at the song that you sent them that they didn't accept versus the song that they actually ended up getting on, and you're gonna be tight.
Yeah, because you see she got on Bia's song too, and the thing with Bia's song, I think Nicki actually reached out to her, which shows like, look, Bia wasn't begging. And Nicki heard it and was like, ooh, like, let me go in the remix. She asked her.
And also, nobody needs a Nicki feature. I mean, you may want it. You can want whatever you want. Just in the same way that
Nicki
you can
didn't need it.
You could be a successful rapper, male rapper, and not get a Jay-Z feature. That's not like that might be what you want, but that's not like that's not your status. That's not going to solidify you like your.
Yeah, because Nicki became a legend though without a Little Kim feature, right? Or, as far as I know, without a Lauryn Hill feature.
It does solidify you in a way, but like it's not necessary. So if it's not going to happen, that doesn't make you worse. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
it does show a certain level of something. If they do end up getting on the song, but you don't need that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's for me it's dramatic almost, right? It's like all this just drama, just on based off getting a feature, and that seemed like the common denominator. That's why Nicki was like, do you see the pattern here? Like, you see the pattern. Every time I deny a feature, they find something, and even she has issues with Coyle Ray, like in Meg, people that she did get features with, even but then that's why people might think, oh, it might be a Nicki problem then, because why she had problems with other people, So, I don't know. It's hard because it's like, dang. But yeah, so they went back and forth, and the main thing that people were mad about was, Lotto. First of all, you calling her, like, she called Nicki a 40-year-old bully, and then she called her super freaky grandma. And like the age shaming thing for me is weird. Like, you could say, yeah, at a certain age you shouldn't really be on the internet fighting with people, whatever. But age shaming to me, like calling someone a grandma and like bringing up their age, for me it's kind of like aging is inevitable. So for me, age shaming is weird because it's like you will hope you would get to 40.
The only thing about that I will agree with is, in my opinion, I don't think that the content that Nicki makes, it's not my preference to hear that at her age.
Yeah, super freaky.
But what I will say is that age didn't matter when you were asking for the feature.
Yeah, and that's what people
where
were
you're
saying.
Hypocritical.
Yeah, people were saying, oh, so you wanted her in the feature. And I think she was sending, a lot of her was actually sending Nicki explicit stuff too, because Nicki said in the DMs, like, oh, maybe send something less explicit. Like, so Nicki didn't even want to even be on some of her super explicit stuff. But now you're saying that she's a freaky grandma. Like, you're weird. And then to then, in that same tweet, bring up Nicki's, husband and brother, who is a pedophile, predator, whatever. And it's like, so now you were activist for women, but you was begging for a feature. You worked with Dr. Luke, who produced her song, her biggest hit, who has accusations. You worked with Kodak, who has accusations. Like, Nicki went down on a list. Like, you're a hypocrite. And then somebody brought up this, alleged that her dad was in her dad's in his 60s. And her mom's like 30 something. So people did the math. Like, wait, if you were born 23 years ago, your mom was like 36 or something, 39. I mean, she had to be like 17, 16 when she gave birth to you. And if your dad's in your 60s now, I mean, he had to be in his 30s, 40s. So it's like, your mom's a victim, allegedly. Because I don't know if that's true, but yeah. So it's like, that's like the biggest thing. People are like, the age shaming and the predator shaming when you were begging for a feature. That's where you just look crazy. If you didn't care for a feature and you just had beef with her, fine, say all that stuff. But you was begging and faking and saying how you just such a big fan and you've been a fan for years and you used to be in the line with the Barbie chain and the bangs. It's like you're doing all that fangirling, and then it's like one thing goes wrong and now you're so quick to like, kill her.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like it's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, I think. Do you think that Nicki's the problem for everybody to have a problem? You know, Cardi B. Who do you have? You have Cardi B. You have Lotto now. You have Meg Thee Stallion. You have Coi Leray. And Nicki seems like she has valid reasons for all that. But it's like, do you think it's her? Like, you know, you have Lil' Kim. You have Mariah Carey.
I think to a certain extent, yeah.
I think my only thing with Nicki, I think her flaw might be she expects a lot of like fangirling.
Mm.
And like when Bia did the feature, like, oh, I love you, like you're such an idol. Like, there's a video that surfaced of Nicki meeting Lauryn Hill. She was like on her knees, like, oh my god, like, yeah, like, you know, that's what everybody was joking, like, oh, this is what Nicki expects the new girls to do with her, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Which I could agree. It's like, yeah, it's like, you know, you might be
that's a lot.
Yeah. Oh. So, you know, I think two things can be true. I think a lot of people are jealous and they probably overthink a lot of their interactions with Nicki and are paranoid, you know, based off her past beats or just based off who she is. So they're paranoid thinking she's subtweeting herself when she's not. And I also think there's an element of jealousy there, and also I think there's an element of being mad that you're not getting what you want and thinking that she's hating and that's why she's not giving you the feature. But I also think there's an element of Nicki, like, you know, kind of in competition with newer people and like kind of, you know, maybe kind of sad that she's kind of getting older and eventually going to be knocked off that, you know, best player. I mean,
yeah.
not like best rapper stance. And I think there's also an element of her expecting a lot of like pandering and like idolizing from people.
Even though realistically, and what other older rappers, she's not really in a class with a lot of people, but with somebody like her status or Kanye or Jay-Z or Nas or any of these really well-established rappers that have like made a career being at the top of the game that they're in, part of the thing that they should understand is that like you're kind of solidified in what you've done. Mm-hmm. So like even though somebody else might be hot at this particular moment or somebody else has this hot song that went number one, that doesn't take away from anything that you've done. And realistically, think about this. None of these women rappers can sell anywhere remotely close to what Nicki Minaj has sold in her career. Like that's a fact. I don't think that any rapper is going to be able to... Just
because the game is different now.
The game is different. I don't think realistically... I mean, anything can happen, so I'm not going to say that, you know, it's end all be all.
But the sale thing is like...
Nobody's come close except for Cardi, I would assume. Yeah. I don't know what Invasion of Privacy did, but I think it did a lot. She has diamond songs. Yeah. So I think it did a lot, but, you know... And
I think part of Cardi's success is that she was like that one person that like came out of nowhere because Nicki was running it for so long. And I think it was like a lot of people was like just hyped with having somebody new. So, like, I'm not saying that she's not, like, you know, her success wasn't partially because of her own talent. But I think her being in love with hip-hop and her personality and then just, like, the timing for her was just good.
Yeah. So, Nicki should understand that as well. Like, if that's what her thought is, like, you're not going to be hot forever.
Yeah.
But you see when she drops, she sees the tweets and the support and everything else like that, like, that's always going to be there forever. Yeah. Even if the sales aren't what they used to be. Sales aren't what they used to be for anybody. Drake did 1 million first week on views, I think.
Yeah, and just the reason why it's not because, like, when Drake's dropped that album, that was really, like, kind of the end of, like, that was, like, really the beginning of this streaming era. Mm-hmm. Because, like, streaming really started, like, 2016, 2015. Yeah. That's when, like, the Apple Music stuff started popping up.
And now... You know, people that grew up with those artists, we're at the point where we have money now. We can pay the whatever subscription fee for Apple Music or anything else. So we're gonna stream it now. Yeah. Back in the day, I don't know how anybody was getting their music, to be honest. But you know, with this, to take it back to the beat specifically, I'm just the type of person I like to handle things. If there's an issue, it's just so much more like simple and wholesome. Yeah. And it can still be an issue. It doesn't mean that resolving it offline is going to make anything different, but at least like why, because to me Twitter or Instagram and everything is like when you post something, it's putting up a sign to the world. Like if I was to take a sign and go stand out on the highway and hold it up in front of everybody.
You want everybody to know.
Right. You want everybody to see these things.
Yeah.
So no matter who did it, I'm not saying Nicki or the other Lotto was like, I'm not singling out anyone specifically, but if you put something on the internet in general, that's what that means.
Yeah.
So you want a big billboard with 1 million people, 20 million people that are going to see this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that. So to me, it's just a text. And if there's going to still maintain an issue, then let it be what it is.
Yeah. I mean, and like the one thing I we talked about this with the other episode, with the JT and Cardi thing. What annoys me about all this beef is we just want the diss tracks. Like, if you're gonna have this beef, let's pop out some diss tracks. Like, Lotto get in the studio. It should have happened already. Like, that 48-hour window is gone. If you got real beef, then get in the studio. And like, I don't know how severe the beef was between other artists that have diss tracks. Like, I don't know if you could even consider this as severe to make a diss track.
Definitely not.
So maybe that's why. But like, if you have like Cardi and Nicki should have been did a diss track at this point. Like, she had a big knot on her head. Like, it got to that point where physical stuff was happening. You were throwing shoes and was trying to beef at Fashion Week. Like, that, it got to that point. The diss track should have been out. With JT and Cardi, maybe not yet. With Nato, Nicki, maybe not. If it was ongoing and more stuff happens, yeah. Where's the diss tracks? But in general, I feel like that's why a lot of people don't really take female rap seriously. Like, these people are fighting on Twitter. Like, come on. Get in a bar, in the studio. Like, I just can't. But we'll see what happens. I mean, Lotto on file with Nicki. So, I mean, I think Nicki just be laughing to the bank at the end of the day. Like, she's, your success and speaks for herself. Like, you're where all these people wish they could be. And clearly they look up to you. So, but something that killed me too, before we end this topic? I hate that whole sentiment. It's like, people are like, oh, Lotto was waiting for it. Because I hate that whole, what she said. She was like, moving on a whole rant. And she's like, it's a shame when your idols become rivals. It's like, Nicki's not competing with you. You're not her rival. Like, it's like, calm down, right? Humble yourself. It's like, you couldn't wait to get that bar off when your idols become rivals. It's like, you want to sound so, like, heavy, right? She is not your rival, right? She's not your rival. You guys are not competing at the same level at all. Like, it's like, I hate when people just get cocky like that. Like, she couldn't wait to get that off, right? She had the phone calls recorded. Like, don't you think that's weird? Like, if you had no issues and had no ulterior motive, like, whether you say I'm protecting myself, it's like, you shouldn't even be calling somebody they feel you gotta protect yourself from.
Yeah.
This is weird.
I'm very simple, so.
People are weird. People are screaming like that. People who be waiting for beef, like, they be having a whole folder of stuff waiting for beef. Like, you weird.
Yeah.
Crazies. But I mean, we could say this for last, but this is something that was simple. It's like a quick little topic. We just had brought up Cardi, but apparently Glorilla brought her like Van Cleef earrings and Cleef and Patek, whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And they did their Tomorrow too. So I guess like that remix, it went crazy. Like, you got her first #1. I guess they're still collabing, like, and I'm sure she made like a good amount of money off of that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's like, and a lot of other people think, I feel like for her to do something this crazy, like buying her expensive watch, and like Cardi was gassed because like she doesn't really get stuff like that from people she says ever except Offset. But it's like, I feel like it's a dumb financial decision. Like, I feel like it's like that you got signed that bag, you just got signed, you make a bag. It's like, why are you buying the earrings? Okay, but the watch?
No. For me, to get a full context, it would depend on what happened with the business. Now, even with the business, it still, to me, is a little nuts. But the thing is, people...
like the label could have brought the watch to give to Cardi.
Here's the thing. Sometimes, that's also something I didn't think of. But, I mean, in the sense that the business of music is different. So some people pay for features. Mm-hmm. They like, yo, get on my song. They're like, all right, well, you got to pay me $40K, and then I'll get on the song, and then I also need 10% of whatever. Some people do business that way. Some people do features for free, where there's no like upfront fee for getting the feature, and they'll still take a percentage. Mm-hmm. And then there's the people that don't get a fee and then don't get a percentage at all. So depending on that,
gotcha. What Cardi's deal was.
If I have more context, then I could give 100% my opinion on it. Assuming it's the first one with a fee and percentage, then it's a dumb decision because you're giving her money.
You gave her money already. Yeah.
And now you're giving her even more money.
Just to thank her.
That I don't disagree. That I disagree
giving somebody
with.
who's far more richer than you too money.
Right.
It's kind of like.
If it's no fee but percentage, you're still giving the artist money, but at the same time, you're giving them what they're owed, basically. Mm-hmm. So my opinion on that is a little bit less. And then if it's basically it was free, no percentage, no money, and you wanted to show your appreciation, I have more respect for that. Although the part that I disagree with is that in any of those scenarios, that person agreed to do the song with you, so you going above and beyond to put out even more money and give it to them, that part I disagree with.
Yeah.
But, you know, everybody has their different opinion on certain things. Because I said that, like, there's been beats that I made where yourself or someone else, like my brother, might have given some input on the beat, and while I don't owe you or him anything, I would still cut that percentage, because in my mind, I'm like, I know that this idea or this little piece of input is what made this become what it is.
Yeah.
And just me and how my morals work, that I would cut you 1% of that, but I wouldn't cut you 1% of that and then also get you a crazy watch at the same time.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up, because I'm like, black people are kind of like, you know, no offense, like, you know, we've been bashing on each other, but we should. Bad with money, financials, and especially like these rappers, especially these young rappers who just pop off and make it, so, you know, that have that kind of overnight success, you could call it overnight. And it's like, for me, I was like, ooh, when I saw that, I was like, because now you're gonna be doing you're gonna be doing collabs with everybody, and they're gonna be expecting that too. I mean, like, she did give you your first number one, and she, you know, that's a big artist.
Would she have gotten that number one with that song without her?
I don't think so.
You sure?
Yeah, because the song was already out. Cardi got in a remix. The Tomorrow 2 song was already out, but without Cardi on it. And she came out with the remix with Cardi. Okay. And you see the most popular bars from the song is Cardi's. Like on TikTok, the back and forth TikTok that people are doing with my friend F doing your new, you know, scissor. Like that bar is that's from that song.
Yeah.
And you see that's the bar that everybody's bringing to TikTok. Like so that's Cardi is responsible for it to be number one. Like okay. I think it's a combination of both, but
because I was questioning if, you know, FNF has any sort of like, you know, the success of that would have pushed any of her other songs.
No, definitely. So you know, it's a combination of things, but you know, you definitely could say Cardi was like that thing that really pushed it to get a number one. Cause getting a number one is not like
absolutely not. Yeah. Anything that can be quotable.
Yeah,
is definitely gonna
and
take
it's
a song.
Cardi, you know.
Yeah, she has a massive audience at this point.
And she don't drop stuff that much anymore. It seems like, which is weird. Like I'm like, I keep forgetting that she only has one album. Like, what are you doing? But
yeah, I disagree with it, but if somebody wants to pay back, because people can also make that argument, is that the only reason you were able to buy that is because of her in the first place. Yeah. So I'm not gonna kill her for it, but if somebody, at the end of the day, somebody agreed to these specific terms, no matter what the terms were. So I don't know if
we don't know the deal. That's the only thing.
I don't know if I'm going that crazy. Maybe with some sort of gift, because like I think Kodak bought Cardi B a platinum bracelet or diamond bracelet or something like that when Bodak Yellow went diamond. Yeah. And he bought her something because obviously that brought a significant amount of money to Kodak because that song went crazy. Yeah. The amount of sales is nuts. So in that situation, I could understand a little bit better. Kodak's also established. We would assume financially established as well. Yeah. So that's a little bit different. But for her, I don't know. But I'm not in her situation, so I can't overly judge it. Yeah.
It's just, I know when she first signed that deal with what's his face? Who signed her? Name some Memphis rappers.
Yo Gotti?
Yeah, Yo Gotti. Everybody was saying, like, when she was on the plane all hyped about the money, like, people were hating back then, but people were saying, like, ooh, like, sometimes it is kind of bad when you give like these up and coming rappers who just had nothing all this money, like they get too hyped. And some people who are just like giving people sometimes when they get in these situations that get money, end up just going broke. So you know, I mean, I'm not her. I'm not gonna tell her what to do with her money, but I just would hope that I would hope that she's not dumb and I'm not making dumb financial decisions. You know. But I just thought it was a little interesting little hot take to talk about, but we'll see what happens. You know, she might become a megastar. But one thing I like about her is that she is like different. You know, like first of all, we're kind of getting a rapper that's not all girly and just talking about one topic, and then we're also getting a girl who says that and she's strong in her stance that she don't care about all that BBL stuff. Like she's fine with being natural. You know, so yeah, that could be stand her. You know, she could be stand out from other like female rappers for that reason. So she could have a future of big success, but only thing is you don't know how this type of music sometimes appeals to a certain audience. Because Nicki became a superstar, you could admittedly say because of her internationally pop type of stuff. And that's why you see other rappers trying to do that, like Cardi and Lotto, people who are trying to get to that big status. And I don't know if Glorilla is like that type of artist, but Yeah. So I mean, we was talking about Cardi and Nicki and Lotto and beef. So I guess we kind of go back to beef, academics, and his beef with rappers.
Yeah, academics has had beef with a lot of different people, but definitely rappers. I would say probably the biggest reason is because of his his success level and what he does, in addition to him just simply giving his opinion. Now, one thing I will say about him is that typically his opinions are pretty tame until somebody takes it a certain way, and then it becomes like he goes full fledged anti this person forever, right? So like he might say something about a certain rapper, they don't like what they said, and then now academics comes back with you're broke, your baby mama this, blah 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 blah, and he goes in and then he won't stop at all forever. So like his beef with Rory when they were on Joe Budden podcast was that, you know, him and Maul had certain opinions on him and they said what they said, and now forever it's
Rory.
yeah, now I have more money than you. He says your name incorrectly, and he's never gonna stop forever, and that's what he does with everybody. So with this particular thing, with Lil Baby, I don't know if this was before or just a recourse of the beef, but you know, he called him, you know, potentially illiterate, can't read or write, said he has Tourette's, and he feels like he's just a special ed kid that is just good at rapping, and that's why he's, you know, successful. In general, I don't know if that was a response to Lil Baby name dropping him twice on his new album, saying that he's, you know, saying things about academics, like he has more money than academics, whatever. But it does bring up the whole, you know, academics versus rappers sort of thing. Now, in my opinion, and before any of the academics meet writers hop in the comments or anything like that, if we even get any comments, is that yes, I do understand academics has more money than me. He's more successful in the media space than
Don't
me.
you hate that people think having more money and success is like a clears you
And-
from any judgment?
Yeah, end all be all.
Yeah, like he's still ugly and fat.
So I just have to say these prerequisites. I don't do this media thing. This is not my job. I'm just doing this as a way to pass the time, to be honest. So he does have more money. He does have more success in media, and he is who he is, and he's been able to buy his mother a house and all that kind of stuff. He has his success, and he's been able to get TV show, well, not TV shows, but you know, work with Complex, do whatever. We know his accomplishments, right, and what he's been able to do, and the money and all that stuff. So I know I'm very familiar with who he is, but my issue with him is that academics is like the epitome of like the nerd that got money, and typically when there's somebody that is whack or like corny or just somebody that's just like I don't know how to really describe it, but when somebody like him gets money and status, or status and money, usually in that order, status then money, they're still corny. They just have more of a
They just have
platform
yeah.
to say things.
They have more people who are going to listen to him now.
Right. Now, the thing about him is that he's not really... He's basically, to me, in my personal opinion, and I would say this to his face as well. So I'm not one of those people that would not tell somebody to their face what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I think that he's a super cornball, and he's made his money and has gotten achievements that he's gotten from being a cornball and being the poster child for all the weirdos and guys that can't get women in general. He's become the poster child for that.
Yeah.
What I will give him credit for is like the whole idea of like the Twitch streams and the chats and all that kind of stuff that's now spread out to other Twitch streamers. And in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I think that he personally birthed that. And that's something that I do enjoy. Is like the whole Twitch stream and the chat thing. Give him all the credit in the world. That's one thing about me is I'll give you credit, but I also will say the things that I feel personally.
Yeah.
If I have something to say, because sometimes I won't have something to say. But to me, he's a poster child of guys that don't get women, and then, you know, you give them a little bit of status, and then they think that they're the shit, right?
Yeah.
Don't like people like that. So in my opinion, he says whatever he wants to say, and there can never be any recourse or like, what's the word? Any consequences for the things that he says, because he'll say whatever he wants to say, and then if you were to physically do something, he's going to call his lawyer, and then you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Now, I don't agree necessarily. There's certain things that people say that, in my opinion, you should get hands and feet and elbows put all over you. But I understand that if somebody says something, that doesn't necessarily mean that they should get physically assaulted.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, if somebody takes something a certain way, it's what it is. Because if you didn't say that, then they wouldn't be physically assaulting you. So, you know, it is what it is. So, you know, he said what the comments that he said about Lil Baby. And in my opinion, I think that it's whack, right? Like if you, because all the topics and conversations and things that I say up here, I understand that when we come on our tiny little platform and I say the things that I say, if I was to ever run into any of these people in real life, then you should expect a fist and an elbow and a knee and a flying drop kick to follow after, depending on what you said.
Yeah.
And in those instances, I would never then go and contact a lawyer and try to sue somebody for money because of something that I said. These people don't know who I am. So me saying something, if that brought that out of you, then I probably said something wrong.
Yeah.
He's not one of those people. He'll entice you, say crazy things, and then if you were to say anything back, then it's now crazy things that he's saying about you and all like now I'm in special ed. Like that's crazy to me, right? No matter what, like, and Lil Baby, like they're not saying these things to academics first. It's always something that's prompted by you know, academics. So in my opinion, I just don't like him.
Yeah, because he like you made this whole platform off of talking about people, and you get mad when people react to you talking about them. Like that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid to me, especially when it's certain things like, oh, you only sold 30K of your albums, but I'm like, selling that 30K on that album does significantly more money than, you know, maybe it doesn't. But the person that can even sell 30K is probably making a lot of money. Yeah. Regardless.
And my whole thing is like if you're not a rapper. So it's kind of like, I mean, we criticize people in the industries that we're not in too, but it's like, you know, it's kind of hard to take someone seriously in their critiques about your music when you're not in that industry.
For me, I would never critique sales ever of anything, right? Because I've sold music, but I've never sold 30,000 of anything.
Yeah, like sales is like I would
never in my life.
Talking about the sales is crazy because it's like you're criticizing something that you didn't even accomplish yourself. Like 30,000 people buying your work.
It's crazy. Yeah. When people in real life couldn't sell a single thing on the street for cheaper. Yeah. So like, you know, I'll never speak on that. But in my opinion, I don't like people like that. Like in terms of our content, at least we're saying things that aren't like disrespectful, right? Saying somebody's illiterate, you know, I'm never going to come up here and say that. I might disagree with their opinion and their perspective on something and say, hey, well, maybe you could have done this differently. I might come up here and say that. But I'm not going to sit there and disrespect somebody and then hide behind the keyboard and then hide behind lawsuits to try to protect myself. Like that to me is like cornball shit. And in my opinion, when you give a cornball some sort of status or money, they always remain that cornball. And that the analogy that I gave before was it's like the person that was a dweeb before they joined a frat or sorority, and they think that joining them is going to give them some sort of clout. And I'm an alpha, I'm this, I'm that, and then you're still the cornball. If anything, it makes you even more corny.
Yeah, because now it's like you make it look like you paid to try to get status. Like it's like you know that their intent wasn't probably genuine. You know, it's like you know that they probably paid for it just to get girls or just to get status.
Right. So to me, you're still that same person, and then to me, in my personal opinion, academics is that person. And if you call me illiterate, then you should expect hands, feet, and elbows to be put on you, whether it's true or not. You should expect. And then if you,
that's
to me,
disrespectful.
If you sue me, then
you're not just like criticizing. Like you're not disparaging somebody. Like you're making insults and making accusations of them having Tourette's. Like what?
Just because they don't like your take on their album. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. This was specific.
And then it's interesting too because he was already in the news lately for like.
That was the other thing.
Like, talking crazy to women and like fighting with them.
That was the same shit I hate about the Fresh and Fit podcast. I don't watch it, but you know, just clips of the way that they talk to certain women.
It's like who are you to talk to them like that? It's like you think you're a man, you could use that whole toxic masculinity thing against women now, but you're not that. You're not that man. Like you're not that guy to even be talking like that.
I hate that whole cornball. Like let's attack women, and that's my whole content on all these platforms. Like. You're whack. Like you would never say these things to this woman if her man was right next to you. And that's corny. Like to me, if I'm going to make any comments about anything, I'm going to say it to whoever is around, and that's what it's going to be. Like I stand on my principles. Like even me saying this, I'm not afraid of academics. I'll stand right in academics' face and say this to him. And that's not
Like,
me being behind the camera.
Nah, academics are not the type of guy. Like, remember that fight they got, but at New Year's, like the type of man that would just be tumbling with his pants falling down in the fight.
Yeah. And
With his butt crack out.
then you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to sue you, blah, blah, blah. But then I go on the internet and see you screaming at a woman,
Yeah.
no matter what she did. Like
who are you?
Like the tough guy shit, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't do that with anybody else.
Yeah.
You won't even let people press you because you threaten lawsuits. So, in my opinion, I just think that he's the epitome of being a cornball.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, people like fresh and fit in him. You give some cornball some money,
Mm-hmm.
and then they are just like enhanced. It's like the enhanced simp, the enhanced incel kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me, like, I've always hated. So, yeah, you know.
That's like the worst type of, like,
The
we
worst
talked
type of
about it
person.
before in the last podcast, like the incels, like the, you know,
This is a corny.
just the corny little, like, it's just crazy. Like the corny men that just get a voice or just even don't get a voice, but just are fans of somebody else who's corny that got a voice. And it's just like, you just produce this whole generation of like these type of people.
Yeah, and it sucks. But yeah, screaming at the girl. I don't know. Actually,
I think
really,
that was his girlfriend that I'm hearing, and then he was trying to break up a fight from her and someone else.
yo, even then, like, I don't even like that visual. Like, I'm not gonna be raising my voice, even if you were about to fight somebody, and I feel like that was stupid. I'm not gonna give somebody the visual of me screaming at you, telling you to calm down and relax. Like, if anything, I might just let you rock, and then
when you get home, be like,
wild out on
Yeah.
you. And that sounds crazy. But
yeah,
like,
but not in
seriously.
like, not in like no like domestic. People think anytime as a man saying like checking somebody is domestic violence something, but just in a way like you care about her safety. Like you don't want her doing no stupid stuff like that in public, putting herself at risk.
Exactly. And when
Going to jail, the
me,
risk for jail.
I don't even get loud. My voice stays at an even tone. So yeah, I'm gonna be like, yo, you put us in a position where one, you're impacting the brand, which impacts money, it impacts your well-being, and two, you putting people in a potential situation where there might be some danger somewhere. And so I would let her know. But you screaming, you getting all tough, I would love and pay real money to see him do that to anybody where he had some crazy opinion on. And that's just me. Like, I'm gonna be the same person I am with everybody.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we could see him in real life. He's from Jersey.
He is from Jersey. Went to school down the street from me.
I would say if
Where
I
I
saw him
live.
in real life too, I would literally say that. I'd be like, you corny. Say it unprovoked.
I don't know if I would do all
Nah,
that.
yeah, I wouldn't do it unprovoked, but I would just look at him crazy.
But if he was like say that same shit that you said on your podcast to me in my face, then I would.
Yeah,
100%.
like, you're an incel.
Same-
just because you get girls now don't mean you're not corny. You
Just
only
like-
get them because of your money and status.
Just like anybody that like we ever talk about on here, I'll say that right to their face. Because first of all, I'm never disrespectful. Even if I really severely disagree and feel like I could get disrespectful, I never get disrespectful with anybody. And I say my opinion. If people disagree with my opinion, they can. But, you know, take what comes with that. You being blatantly disrespectful, you're going to have to take what comes with that, which might be fists, elbows, and knees and drop kicks flying from across the room. So it's just interesting, you know, because I just hate the people that got a platform from behind a keyboard. Because you even brought this up about Deshae Frost as well.
Like, yeah, doing all that corny stuff.
While somebody doesn't have access to you, like that's
just
almost
'cause
like
you got clout. Like you're still like it's like that. You know, people got that. Like those insecurities will be like bright behind the scenes because like all that money and clout in the world can't make you taller. Like you're still a short little weirdo looking like weird
even
looking.
and that's applicable whether the person has money or not. I think people think that getting money and status is going to change any of the things in their life that really bother them, and it doesn't. You might be able to pay for more Balenciaga and some more Gucci, but at the end of the day, it's not going to fix the fact that you're buying those things to compensate for something.
And usually it's height or meat size.
Right. So it's just people like that. Like I can't stand the streamers that buy like all the things that make them lit. Like, oh, I'm gonna go buy the cars and like not the Gucci, but like the Off-White.
The Off-White
and
rug.
I need all this. And like, it's never gonna like change who you are. You are who you are at the end of the day.
Yep. And that's the thing. I'm like, I mean, and it's funny because a guy could say, being aware is like, a good thing, and they be aware. Though. That's the thing, because they'll say those things, and you could tell by like the way they laugh, or like their friends will joke on them about it. So they, they're aware. But I just hate the pretending like, the pretending that you're not really aware kind of thing, or pretending that it don't really bother you. You know that it bothers you. Mm-hmm. And then you try to talk crazy, not crazy, now that you got money and
like, nah, we know, bro.
Like, yeah.
If you ran into me in person, you wouldn't be doing these things. Yeah. But you protected, like that's.
It's like you said. It's the funny thing too. It's always like the people who talk crazy. It's always just like the short guy or the big fat weird looking guy.
You notice it's never the person that actually has it going for them.
Yeah.
It's never them that talks the most shit. It's always the person that doesn't.
Yeah.
And these people have things going for them, like Deshae and academics, and that's why I'll keep repeating it. Those people have more money than me, I would assume, because I don't have any access to their bank accounts. Like I don't got to log in info. More status, more notoriety.
More money right now, because this social media stuff. If you can't keep up with it, then that's it.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
So we definitely know those things, and they're able to. They could come they could tweet me, DM me right now, and tell me I'm broke.
And the annoying part is where their little kid fans would be like, "Yeah, bro,
listen, that's
that doesn't bother me. That does not bother me.
That's all fine.
Money is not everything.
The internet ain't real.
Yeah.
But what is real is your insecurities.
Yeah, you're still 5'2". Like
any of those issues that you're dealing with in real life, none of those things go away with money.
You're still 280 pounds and bald.
So that's a fact. Yeah. Doing that whole content with somebody else's ex-wife while they overseas and they can't get access to you is no different than me than you trying to make some content with somebody when they're in jail and they don't have access to you.
Yeah, like you're like knowing that if you saw me face to face, you would not be on that type of time. Like that's what Tweezy said. He's like, that's a little man. Like
you would get folded like a napkin. So stop that. Like seriously, like that shit right there. Especially when somebody can like really fold you up.
Yeah, like in real life, face to face, like you're not man enough to even come to my face. Like you got to make videos and like.
You know what's funny? I saw a bunch of boppers getting mad at somebody. They made a TikTok. They were like 90s kids when they had an issue versus 2000 kids when they had an issue, and the 90s kids they were obviously squaring up versus 2000s kids pulling out straps, and everybody was getting mad in the comments from the 2000s kids like. Mad basically because it's calling them soft because like people don't want to fight. Like we can fight. We definitely in the era, but also at the brink of the era where if you had an issue, like I know people that if there was an issue, get your people. I'm gonna get my people, and I'm not from the hood by the way, but. Fighting isn't synonymous. Well, it's like not fighting. Everybody fights. It's not just like a hood thing. Mm-hmm. Get your people. I'm gonna get my people. We're gonna go to this park at this particular time, and we're gonna fight right here. That would never happen now. Mm-hmm. Like the way we used to fight would be like the same way they did back in like the Civil War. Like everybody meet up here, and we're gonna sit at this line, and then we're gonna shoot at each other.
I never got fights people, but I've seen fights. Like people like we're gonna pull up to like the bridge, the footbridge. Cause we had a footbridge. I went over like you know where my high school is, and like you know how that's a highway. You pass it. So we had a footbridge that brings to the other side of 22, like where McDonald's is, like KFC and McDonald's, like that's a footbridge. So there used to literally be fights at the footbridge, like people that meet at the footbridge, because now you're off school property. Like that, people used to actually have set up fights. I feel like that stuff don't be happening no more. I mean, it probably still is in the school stuff, maybe not. I feel like the internet had made people so bold.
Yeah, people just be popping on each other and then shoot each other. But I feel like
even with I mean, speaking has I have my own scenario. It's like a lot of times that people be doing all just like popping up, and then when you try to actually have like in-person confrontations, it's like crickets. It's like no one wants to talk. Like you guys were talking about craziness, but no one wants to do nothing in person. Like why am I the one trying to coordinate the in-person talk? Like it's just everybody does a lot of that tough stuff, subtweeting.
Or even like the chats on like
talking crazy when no one else, when other people are around. But then when you want to do a one-on-one, it's none.
The chats on Twitch and stuff like that, people saying whatever.
Yeah, but then they'll never
in their life
say that in person. They don't even talk like the way they be typing.
And let's take guns out of the equation too. And it's that you take that out, and it's definitely exposing everybody.
Yeah.
You take guns out.
People can't hide behind guns.
And then people in the comments like, "Oh, I still got my 9 though." It's like
So now you're depending on your gun because that's like the only way you.
Because you can't fight. You'll learn how to fight.
Yeah, like be a human. Like that's what the basis of humanity is.
And that's the other thing. Listen. I said this before on the podcast. I'm down to lose a fight. I'm down to get knocked out.
Yeah, but at least you know.
I'm gonna try to get knocked out though. Like,
But the thing is, at least you putting yourself in a position to even fight says more about somebody who's not even going to put themselves in a position, who's going to hide behind lawsuits and stuff. Like,
lawsuits and guns.
Yeah.
Whack.
So, yeah, I
corny.
That's why like people getting knocked out. Like you could clown them, but I'm like, at least come on, give them the respect that they at least put up a fight.
Yeah.
They didn't hide. They didn't try not to fight. They
I love it.
went out swinging and they got knocked out, but they got my respect because they didn't back down.
I love it. Some street fights still happen, definitely at bars and stuff like that. Like I saw this group of people didn't know this guy was they didn't know this guy was an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
It was nap time.
Yeah.
I
So
like
you don't know who you about to.
I like stuff like that because God forbid there was a gun involved and now bullets are flying for no reason. Realistically, like a fight, a physical fight, fighting can like dead an issue. But now if you kill somebody, now for all of eternity, people are gonna be spinning the block for this person forever. Like that stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's all I got.
Yeah, but I mean, end of the day, like I said, I would say this stuff to anybody. Everything I've ever said, everything I say on here, I will say to the person's face. I'm not scared at all. I'm literally not a scary person at all. Like,
I might not voluntarily run up to them like, "Hey, I said these things on my podcast."
But if you ask me, like, anytime I've gotten confronted about something, I'm like, yeah, yeah, what's up between you? Yeah, okay. You can't admit to what you did, so who's the weaker one here? I confronted you, and I admitted to what I did wrong. Yeah. But you can admit what you did wrong, and you didn't confront me. You stayed quiet. So who's the weaker one in this situation? So yeah, that's the thing about me. I'm small. I can't fight. I can tell you, I never got to fight a day in my life. Like me and my friend in first grade got in a little scrap. That don't count. I'm not from the hood. I'm from the suburbs. Suburbs kids fight too, but that was never the type of time I was on. I never messed with people. But one thing about me, I've always confronted people. Like ever since middle school, like if I had issues, I always had like the one who did the confronting. Like I'm not scared of people. Like people might think I'm scared because I'm shy and goofy, but no, I've never been scared. I've always confronted people. So yeah, unlike academics. But academics is crazy though, because he puts himself in like violent, like you putting yourself in gang stuff. Like you putting yourself, you talking about some really touchy subjects here, just to hide. If you're gonna talk about that stuff and get into that territory, you can't hide behind a computer. So yeah, that's all I got to say.
Was that it for today?
Yeah.
That was. I'm gonna give him one last topic.
What?
And hopefully this.
Keep mind my nails too, by the way.
Hopefully this doesn't. Because normally I really hate talking about these things because I'm not in that life and I don't want to speak on things without being deeply involved. But there's this one thing that was interesting. Now, I'm of the perspective that things like drill music are like should be specific to the area in which it's consumed. So when it comes to things like Chicago or it comes to things like New York, I think that everybody universally can listen to that music and enjoy it. But I don't think that people that listen to it enjoy it. I don't think the majority of them actually understand what that music represents and what its purpose is. And
they just think it's the beat.
Yeah, they just think, oh, it's the beat. I'm gonna do this dance that I saw on TikTok, which is not the case. So PSA for anybody that listens to that music, this music is the purpose of it is to basically disrespect their what will be considered their ops, or to basically gangbang on music. Like that's the whole point of it. So I know people be doing their dances and stuff like that, and it seems all cool, but the root of drill music is that. Like it's murder, trapping, like whatever you want to call it, whatever slang term you want to call it. That's the root of it. So while probably nothing's gonna happen to you if you're in Wisconsin woo walking, when you're over here in the areas where the music is coming out of, like I'm not gonna do that in New York. Because first of all, I'm not involved in that life, so I'm never gonna do any sort of gang signs or like dancing that's involved with that life when I'm not from there. That's just stupid. That don't even make logical sense. First of all, you look like a cornball in my opinion, but also
you probably have people who are tourists who are like, I'm in New York, I'm about to woo walk. I'm in New York. It's like
you look like a cornball first of all, and I know it's just a dance, but the dance represents something. Yeah, and you have to understand that. But also, I'm not from that life, so I'm not gonna sit there and act like doing a woo walk. You're basically gangbanging and through a dance. Yeah. So I'm not gonna do those things. or Cali.
Walking. Yeah. Crip walking.
Never crip walking. Not doing it over here because that's not even my culture. Because there's the black culture as a whole, but within that, there's different divisions.
There's regional culture.
Culture. I'm from Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm from the East.
Yeah.
Right next to New York. We basically staring at New York right now.
Yeah, the trees are about to, the leaves are about to fall off, so we're gonna have a review coming.
So it's close proximity, so I understand some of the beefs and things that are going on, even though I don't, I'm in New York half of my week, but I understand these different things. But I'm never gonna be doing. I'm still not gonna do anything in New York, even though I'm there half the week.
Yeah.
And I damn sure ain't gonna do any West Coast things, banging and dancing and all this other stuff when I don't know what it means. So my problem is all these kids on the internet listen to this music. They listen to Pop Smoke and Fabio and 22 G's and everybody else from Brooklyn or DJ Osama or just any sort of drill rapper that's coming out of New York, and they'll do the dances and all that kind of shit without having any context as to what these things mean. Mm-hmm. I don't like it because, for one, those people aren't in that life either. And two, they're not from here. Mm-hmm. And three, they're doing something that they don't really even know what it means. They think everything is all fun and games. And now for them, there's never going to be any consequence for them. Mm-hmm. There's no consequence for the person out in Kentucky or Texas or whatever doing whatever dance that means something in New York. There's never going to be a consequence for that.
And they're always guarded because they'll probably never ever actually
run into those situations. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm speaking to specifically, to get more specific, without getting specific, because I want to be very touchy with the subject. Mm-hmm. There was a young affiliated person in a particular street group, mm-hmm. and I'm going to use my words very specifically, and he was murdered recently. Mm-hmm. And a group of people that didn't get along with that person made a song and a dance mocking that person's death, and this kid is 14 or 15, I believe, and it's kind of low-key in a way taking over TikTok in a way as like the most popular dance at the moment. Now, my problem with it is, for one, the people within New York that are actually from where this music derives from and where these dances derive from, them doing it and thinking it's okay to do because they're not a part of the beef. Because I saw one person doing the dance mocking the kid, but also at the same time doing another dance that supports the people that did it.
Yeah, so they don't even...
And their response was, it's not my beef. So they don't care about doing it because they don't feel like there's any repercussions to doing it because they're not gangbanging, right? Mm-hmm. In my opinion, that's cornball shit. But also in general, and other people's responses too was like, oh, the kid was involved in that life and that's what he wanted, so why does it matter if I mock him, whatever, he put himself in that situation. I don't agree with that shit either. Like, somebody could put themselves in a million situations, but am I going to be sitting there mocking their death? Nah. Like, that just seems like cornball shit to me. And I'm not going to, the dance is so cool, I want to be on TikTok doing it. I'm not going to be doing that shit because you just look dumb, especially to people like me specifically. So basically, there's a dance. I'm not even gonna say the name. If anybody listening should, you could do your own research on it. But I just think that the whole drill music thing and the dances and stuff like that, I just think that it's stupid for other people to do them and not think that there's like, just not understanding what these things are.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like anything you do in life, you should have some type of understanding of what you're doing. Like, people always, like you said, the person like somewhere in like Montana would be on TikTok like, oh, it's just a dance. It's just that. Like, people need to understand, like, in your mind, it might just be a dance. It might just be a word. It might just be a hairstyle. But you have to understand, when you do those things, you are offending other people. You should just be wary of what you're doing. Like, you could think it's just a dance, but for other people, it's not just a dance. It means a lot, and it's disrespecting to somebody, or,
that's why, like, this is a weird thing to even clip, and I don't know even how, if I'll even clip it, because I don't want to put the word of the dance in it because it's like disrespectful in itself. Mm-hmm. But I think, like you said, even if it's just a dance, even if it's just a hairstyle, even if it's just a word or just a saying or just anything, at the end of the day, it is
billions of people in this world. Like, you gotta respect other people's, how they view it.
Right. It's still what it is, whether you agree with it or not.
And it still started from people that, like, how you not respecting people that started it and telling you what it means, or not to do it.
And like you're doing it is still the disrespect, right?
Yeah.
And this one specifically is mocking somebody being stabbed to death.
It was made. That's where it was.
That's what
it was
made
rooted.
for, and that's all it is, right? So when the Warriors are doing it at their basketball games and stuff like that without having any context, and they're on the West Coast, it's like
It's so crazy.
like,
Can you
that's
imagine
crazy.
seeing that on TV? Like, what the heck?
Like that's nuts,
These NBA players.
right? And that's nuts,
Yeah.
and they look crazy, and people don't want to even like.
And they as a team shouldn't, like, you should know better, because first of all, like, you guys are a brand. Like, you know, you should be looking up what you're doing. And because I get, like, people are lazy. That's like everything's so fast nowadays, and you might think it's just a TikTok dance, but it shouldn't be that hard to look up what you're doing.
But what I'm saying from us, from being in this region, for anybody else as a PSA, if there's any drill song, any drill beat, that people are making, and there's a dance associated with it, just don't do it. Rule of thumb is just don't do it, because the
It's
whole point.
equivalent to gang signs.
Yeah, the whole point of the music is gangbanging over here in the New York region. I'm not gonna say New Jersey, because in Jersey we don't do. There's people that
We have club music.
there's a New Jersey connection with certain people, drill rappers from New York that rock with people with Jersey. So we don't do that. We do something else. We don't gangbang in dances. And I'm not saying that them gangbanging is only dances, because believe you me, it is definitely real life. That
But as far as I know, New Jersey, like, no gangs in Jerseys,
Right.
It has dances associated with their activity.
I have respect. I know what not to do in these situations.
I mean, luckily I can't dance, so.
So just in general, if anybody's listening to drill music and there's some sort of dance associated with it, it's affiliated with some sort of gang or some sort of
Like,
street
drill
violence.
music is-
That's the point of it.
Literally, drill music is gang banging music. That's
So
why people say it originated in Chicago.
When people doing all the woo walk and all that other stuff, like, you're doing a gang dance. Like, I know you like it. You like Pop Smoke. I get it. You're from the burbs. You want to relate, kind of shit. I'm from the burbs too. Never was woo walking.
Yep, never was.
Left it
never
for
wanted
them.
to throw up no gang signs. Like, it's so whack to me. I feel like that's like, you know, a part of that. Those things is the lifestyle that people have gone through. So it's like, why do you want to throw up gang symbols? And you live in a 4-story house, 3-story house, like, what do you like?
Cornball
it's
shit.
corny. Like, you might think it's cool, but it's for some people this is their livelihood.
Yeah. So there was just a PSA. Like, y'all look, at least to people like me, y'all look dumb.
Especially
and
white people.
You know,
White people be in those gangs too, but
somebody recently in New York did that in the wrong context, and they got.
Do you know an update on their condition?
I don't know their condition. I don't know if they're still alive. I believe they are. I didn't hear that they passed away, but essentially somebody did the dance, and they what the dance is mocking, the same thing happened to them. And that just happened recently. So again, that's gonna happen in New York, because that's where the whole thing is taking place. Is nuts out here right now. But
it might not happen to you in Times Square, but it might. Some people might just be chilling around there.
But
more likely than not, especially because that's such a high security area. But
yeah, and these things again won't impact anybody. Like, if somebody from Florida starts doing that kind of stuff, it's not going to impact them. But, you know, safety aside, you do look corny to me doing it.
Yeah.
Especially if you know the context.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then I'm judging you too.
Yeah.
Because, like, for me, I need to know what I'm listening to. I need to know the cultural references in a song before I say something. Like, if you're not doing those things, then I'm judging you. But I just wanted that to be like the last thing I said. And I probably won't even clip this, because I don't want to even bring that sort of.
Make it separate.
Yeah, I don't even want to necessarily bring attention to that.
Yeah.
But that's all I got.
All right, I think we're done then. 2:30.
We out. Thank you guys for watching. As always, we will see y'all next week.